NBC Sports presents the National Football League. Today, it's the Cleveland Browns versus the Seattle Seahawks.
Better than 60,000 capacity crowd at the Kingdome in Seattle for the Seahawks and the Browns. Cleveland with a record of 6-3, leading the AFC Central. They've won their last three, while Seattle is struggling at 4-5 in a must-win situation. Marv Albert with Ahmad Rashad as the Seahawks won the toss, and receiving the kickoff, Elroy, the rookie from Easton, Kentucky, getting out near the 20-yard line. And I think the word desperate captures the plight of the Seahawks, who, to make matters worse, will be without their starting defensive ends, Jeff Bryant and Jacob Green, because of injuries, while Cleveland with a hot quarterback in Bernie Kosar, coming off the 42-31 victory over Tampa Bay. Offensive line, Andy Heck, the rookie, replacing Ron Mattis in the starting lineup. Dave Craig, who comes off a nightmare last week with the running backs Williams and Warner. And in passing situations, you'll see Paul Scansey and Lewis Clark come on. So a first down from the 20 as we get underway. And it's to the ground as Chuck Knox attempts to establish the running game. Kurt Warner, who picked up only 11 yards on 5 carries last week in the loss to Kansas City, collected a couple, stopped by Felix Wright. As we check out the Cleveland front four, Al Bubba Baker, Carl Hairston, Michael Dean Perry, who's had a terrific year, and Robert Banks up front. The linebackers, Matthews, Johnson, and Waiters, two outstanding corners in Minifield and Dixon, along with Wright and Thane Gash, who's okay following that collision last week. And a look at the dime when the Browns go to that alignment. Second down, 8 at the 22. In motion, Largent, and John L. Williams is stopped at the 25 by Clay Matthews. The outside linebacker, John L. Williams, had a rough time last week against Kansas City. He was held in check, about only 28 yards on the ground.
Marv, I talked to him before the game. He said the offense has been taking a lot of heat, but in order for a offensive back to really get in rhythm, they have to get a chance to carry that ball 15, 16 times. But they were in such a bad straits last week that they got behind early and had to throw the ball.
No evidence of ground chuck in recent weeks. Third down and 5 for Seattle. And Craig going short range, incomplete, intended for the fullback Williams, who was covered by Matthews. So 3 plays and punt formation, and the Seahawks are hearing it from the crowd.
This crowd here, I'm telling you, they have been on these Seahawks all season long, and we've seen signs around here saying, where is the running game? But we have to say that in talking to Chuck Knox, it's the most distressed I've ever seen him look in the entire time that I've known him. They just have not been able to do anything. One game they go out and they have 80 snaps as an offense, and next week they have 50 snaps. There's no consistency.
And it starts in that manner. Norm Johnson will punt from his 10. The Ice Cube, Jerry McNeil, is back. And a good punt. McNeil running outside, well covered. Good job by the special team of the Seahawks. A 48-yard punt, and McNeil hemmed in to manage only 1 yard. Now the Cleveland Browns to the offense. Paul Farron replacing the injured Ricky Bolden at left tackle. Bolden out with a shoulder problem. May return within the next 2 weeks. And Bernie Kosar, the quarterback. Eric Metcalf coming off the sensational day last week with the fullback Tim Manoa. And as the Browns go to the flush, Brian Brennan, who figures to be a major part of the game plan today, will be the third down receiver. First down from the 27. And here's Metcalf. And he is held in check. Alonzo Mitz, who is starting for the injured Jacob Green, getting to number 21, the rookie from Texas, Eric Metcalf. Metcalf picking up a couple on the play.
Metcalf here taking the ball right away, trying to make something happen. And talking to the guys on the Seattle defense, they say the only way that we can try to stop Metcalf is giving nowhere to run. Try to just put pressure on him at all times. And one of the guys who won't be putting pressure is Jacob Green, who's on the sideline today.
Missing only the second game of his NFL career. Keith Jones now checking into the Cleveland backfield. 2nd and 8 from the 29. Kosar off the play action with the protection with the sideline pass, and it is complete for the first down. Nice play by Webster Slaughter for 15 yards.
Webster Slaughter, one of the most underrated receivers in the entire league. This man here is a superstar. Watch this route. Defensive back is gone. Webster just makes sure to get both feet in inbounds and makes a great catch. Just a great play.
Well, the fans here in Seattle reacting to the replay on the big video screen did not agree, but it appeared that Slaughter did have both feet in. No review, in fact. Kozar on first down with the bullet, incomplete. Intended for Reggie Langhorne. Tony Woods, the outside linebacker, on the coverage. And the Seahawks actually picking up guys off the street, as Chuck Knox indicated to us yesterday, have Jethro Franklin out of the developmental squad, replacing the injured Jeff Bryant, and Alonzo Mitz for the injured Jacob Green. And when they go to the 4-3, Roy Hart, a nose tackle, will come on. And here is the Seahawk secondary that has had its ups and downs, although Nesby Glasgow leads in tackles, and Rufus Porter, a man you'll be seeing quite a bit of. Very quick and great speed.
Not a good sign, Marv, when your strong safety or free safety is leading your defense in tackles. I mean, I know it looks good on paper, but those defensive backs, they don't like to tackle. They like to cover receivers out of the backfield. You got to change shoulder pads if you're going to be one of them point men out there.
Glasgow with 61 tackles to lead Seattle, followed by the free safety, Eugene Robinson, who has a high number of tackles. He's at 54. Brian Brennan now coming in for the third down play, along with the rookie out of Auburn, Lawyer Tillman, who caught his first NFL touchdown last week. 3rd and 10 at the 44. Crowd reacting to the Seattle defense. Kozar is hauled down. And it was Rufus Porter collecting his 9th sack of the season. He's among the AFC leaders.
Rufus Porter is so quick. He's only about 218, 220 pounds, and he just puts so much pressure on the tackles that try to block him because he's so quick. I talked to him before the game. He said, you know what I know? I said, what? He said, this game is being telecast in my hometown. I am going to show out. And he starts out showing out right there.
Did not waste much time in getting into it. First defensive series, and he has himself a sack. Here's the punt by Brian Wagner. David Hollis from his 30 has some room, breaking tackles, and a beautiful return. He went 20 yards off a 38-yard punt. David Hollis, a 3-year man from Nevada, Las Vegas, has this crowd sparked. He was stopped by Keith Jones.
The last time he gave up, this time he won't get the chance.
When two legends come together.
Spin move out to the outside, and you know, when you get big runs like this, a lot of times it can spark the entire team. It can have the offense saying, okay, we're ready, let's get out and go. Hollis taking the place of James Jefferson. Obviously Jefferson not able to do the job, and Hollis comes back with a 21-yard return, firing the Seattle offense up.
Yes, Jefferson has had his ups and downs and did not appear on the first kickoff or punt return, so Seattle first down from the 49. We are early first quarter. Marv Albert, Ahmad Rashad from the Kingdome in Seattle. And on the pitch out, it is Kurt Warner for the first down. Clean gash from the free safety position to make the stop, and Warner, who has struggled, rips off 13 yards.
Kurt Warner has taken so much pressure over the year. You know, he's actually been the guy in talking about the Seattle Seahawks running game, and he's been struggling a little bit so much this year, but he just needs those reps. Here he gets a nice block by number 65, Edwin Bailey, who just gets on the linebacker, M.L. Johnson, just in time to get Warner past him and down into the secondary.
Seattle first down at the Cleveland 39. And the handoff to Warner again. Stopped by Robert Banks from his right defensive end, along with the outside linebacker Van Waiters, who is replacing the injured David Grayson. A check of the 10-minute ticker. Denver on a last-second field goal by David Treadwell makes it a record of 8-2. Buffalo big over Indianapolis, Miami leading the Jets in a seesaw battle. They always have shootouts. That in the fourth quarter. Well, New Orleans with a bounce back leading New England. In the fourth, Washington and Philadelphia, all the scoring in the first half. And the Redskins come back from the loss to the Dallas Cowboys. Second down 10 at the 39, and penalty markers are down.
Looked like Carl Big Daddy Hairston got a little bit of a early jump, number 78.
Referee today is a rookie NFL official, Howard Rowe.
Number 78, defense, 5 yards.
And as you mentioned, it is Big Daddy Carl Hairston who is called.
That's right, Big Daddy. And we're talking to the defensive people of Cleveland. They say, well, you know, a lot of times you got an aggressive defense. They're going to go offsides from time to time. You don't want to kill that aggression, so take the penalty, but get up there again and try to get the snap, beat the snap again.
In particular, Michael Dean Perry, Bud Carson telling us last night, one of these days, he's going to jump into the opponent's backfield and grab the handoff.
He's that quick.
Second down 5 at the 34. 5 minutes gone by in the first quarter, and picking his way, John L. Williams tried to go outside, but did not have much success. Stopped by Waiters and Gash. And continuing with the 10-minute ticker, Minnesota over Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay losing last week to the Browns. And Detroit leads Green Bay in the fourth quarter.
You know, Marv, looking at Seattle's running game, it's very hard for an offensive back to make the right cuts when he's got defensive linemen in his face. The offensive line has got to fire out and give these running backs a little room to make some decisions. And so far today, every time they've carried the ball, the defensive players have been right in their face.
Largent in motion for this third down and 5. Drake from the shotgun going sideline and has a first down with the future Hall of Famer Steve Largent. He picked up 11 and was stopped by Tony Blaylock. And Largent hears it from the crowd.
Steve Largent is the master at running patterns underneath the coverage. Steve Largent brings his route in and then breaks it back to the outside. And he is wide open. The thing they like to tell receivers is always know where you are on the field. And Largent does that as well as anybody.
So that extends the consecutive game reception streak. And he is 2 catches away from another milestone, gunning for 800 receptions in his career, just adding to his NFL record. First down at the 23. And Waters stopped back behind the line. Van Waiters, who has replaced the injured David Grayson, who was out with a neck sprain, able to make the hit on Kurt Warner.
And just as I said earlier, Kurt Warner takes the handoff, and less than 2 steps later, he's got a defensive back a defensive player right in front of him. And that's an excellent, excellent technique on a tackle. He kind of threw a leg and an arm out at him and tripped him. Whatever it takes to get him down.
Yeah. It's a 2nd and 13 at the 26. You mentioned the problems of the Seattle offensive line. Several holdouts hurt this team, along with the fact they did not sign several key Plan B free agents. And again, penalty markers down as Warner is the ball carrier. You look at the offensive line, Grant Fiesel replacing the veteran Blair Bush.
And you know, another big loss is those 2 tight ends they had. Tyson Spagnola, the tight ends that they have. When you have a running offense.
Defense, number 92, offsides, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
That's Michael Dean Perry, who has had his share of offside calls during the season, but Bud Carson really doesn't mind because he's so quick off the ball, so you accept the occasional offside.
Joe Green, one of the old players that Carson used to coach, used to do the same thing. When you get offside, it's no problem. He'll make up for that with a couple of sacks. The point I was making earlier about Seattle's offense, you got to have a tight end there to crash down on that running game, to keep the running game going. They have not had tight ends this entire year.
2nd and 8 at the 21-yard line. And again to the ground for Warner. Picked up 7. So it will be a 3rd down and 1. The starting tight end now for Seattle is Donnie D, who was just signed a couple of days ago, replacing Robert Tyler, who's out with a sprained ankle. The backup, a rookie, Travis McNeil, who really hasn't done the job. There's D, originally 11th round pick of the Indianapolis Colts. And as you mentioned, the loss of Tice and the backup Spagnola turns out to be even bigger than the Seahawks thought.
It certainly does. A tight end is a celebrated tackle in this offense.
Third down play, and Craig to throw, and has it knocked out of his hands. Apparently it was batted, and a penalty marker is down. Now, last week, Dave Craig had all kinds of difficulties, 6 fumbles in all. Seattle fumbling 8 times in the game against Kansas City.
Such a strange play, Marv. As the ball got knocked out, it looked like everybody stopped.
And again, the call against the Browns.
Defense, number 29, illegal use of hands, 5-yard penalty, first down.
So Hanford Dixon is called on the penalty.
Hanford Dixon, you know, defensive backs get smart down in this area. If you can't cover a guy, rather than get beat for a touchdown, you grab him and hold him. It's a much better play than letting the guy go and getting a touchdown. You see David Craig getting ready to throw the ball. Bubba Baker knocks it out. Well, and then David stops Baker from getting it by grabbing his face mask and then jumps on the ball. But that's a smart play by Hanford Dixon. You can't cover the guy grabbing.
And the Seahawks get a 1st and goal from the 10 out of it. D in motion. And here comes Williams. Donnell running it out of bounds at the 8-yard line, run out by the outside linebacker Van Waiters.
John L. Williams in years past was 1/3 of this entire offense. This year he hasn't been able to do much at all. But here the offensive line here doing a good job setting him loose out on the outside. I would expect John to turn this ball up. Runs it out of bounds.
That has been a criticism in this area, that suddenly Williams, who has been known as a punishing runner, is not going right at the defender. Instead, he is looking for the sideline. Here's Craig pulling away from Perry and then lofting one. And let's see, it is a touchdown. Brian Blades managing to make the catch inbounds. An 8-yard touchdown pass for Blades, his 4th touchdown reception of the season.
Excellent play by the thrower and the receiver. David Craig, Blades playing at tailback, just swings out of the backfield. He's over in the right flat. Now Craig looking down the field, can't find anybody. As he starts to roll, you see number 51, Eddie Johnson, not look back for the ball. And when he does, Matthews, and just as he does look back, Brian Blades makes the catch.
Apparently they are reviewing to see if he did have the 2 feet inbound. And after checking it out, the answer is yes. 8 plays, 51 yards. A drive aided considerably by 3 Cleveland penalties.
David Craig has not thrown the ball in the end zone too many times in the last few weeks, so he definitely has reason to celebrate this one.
It is his 14th touchdown pass of the season. Here's Norm Johnson. And he puts it through. Seattle off to a good start in the first quarter with 6:20 remaining. They lead 7-0.
Dodge has got the
Seattle, Marv Albert with Ahmad Rashad. Homecoming for Ahmad. This your
hometown. This is my area here.
Huge crowd on hand to meet Ahmad at the airport Friday night. Thought a bit much, though, handing out those life-size photos. Eric Metcalf back deep, as you can see, the number 2 man in kickoff returns in the league. The rookie from Texas has been sensational. He's to the 10. Has a block. Out across the 25-yard line, and the Seahawks did well to keep him in check. A 22-yard return on the kickoff by Metcalf.
One more look at this touchdown. Number 89, Brian Blades, right there, will line up as his tailback, and now as he swings out wide, he has a linebacker covering, which gives Craig a chance to look down the field. Can't find anybody open. Now watch him throw the ball right by number 57, Matthews. As it gets by him, Blades keeps his eye on it, makes a great catch, both feet in the end zone, touchdown.
We've seen some nice footwork by a couple of receivers. Blades and earlier Slaughter. First out at the 26-yard line. Langhorn in motion. And the handoff to the fullback, Manoa. Turning his way to the 30, Tony Woods, the outside linebacker. on the stop, a 4-yard advance. It will be a 2nd down and 6. Final scores: Denver over Kansas City on that last-second 26-yard field goal by David Treadwell. Buffalo coming off the loss to Atlanta, bouncing back. Miami over the Jets. New Orleans getting by New England 28-24. New Orleans has won 9 straight against AFC opponents. Washington with the victory. Chicago with the win, along with Minnesota. Detroit on top in the 4th quarter. A 2nd and 6 from the 30. 7-0 Seattle. Kozar swings to Manoah. And he works his way to the 1st down marker. Woods and Wyman combining on the tackle of Tim Manoah, the 3-year man from Penn State. Tony Woods in his 3rd season from Pittsburgh. Rams in front of the Giants 3-0. San Francisco to the early lead over Atlanta.
And Marv, the Browns here showing that if you want to put too much emphasis on stopping Eric Metcalf, you give the ball to Manoah once or twice, throw him the ball out of the backfield, because he certainly doesn't get to carry it many more times.
And again, the crowd urging the Seattle defensive unit on, but here's Metcalf trying the middle. Eric Metcalf last week, 233 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 on a reverse against Tampa Bay. He went for 6. So a 2nd down and 4. A look at the breakdown last week. A man who did it in every conceivable department.
Marv, he is the epitome of a scat back. I mean, I haven't heard that word around in a long time, but this is a guy that can go the distance no matter where or how he touches the ball.
Again, 88, Langhorne in motion. Metcalf had some difficulty on the handoff, and he's short of the 1st down. Chuck Knox was telling us yesterday it's such an eerie feeling for him because he is preparing for Eric Metcalf in the same manner that he prepared while he was coach of the Los Angeles Rams for Eric's dad, Terry.
Now, this is a great run right here. It's only 3 or 4 yards. He barely gets back to the line of scrimmage, but with all that mobility and agility and jumping backwards and sideways, he's at least able to bring the ball back up to the line of scrimmage.
3rd down 3 at the 44, 3:20 left. 1st quarter, Seattle 7 and Cleveland nothing. This time Brennan 86 in motion. And Metcalf has the 1st down. He's out at midfield. Got a good block from Tim Manoah.
He has such tremendous explosion. If you notice, when he doesn't take any time, he's got the ball. Watch when he makes his cut. Right now, he starts to take it right up the field. Coming right behind those blocks, and once he gets in that traffic area, he's able to explode and burst through the back end of a lot of plays.
And he picked up 8 of his 17 yards on that last carry. A 1st down at the Seattle 48-yard line. Manoah lined up in the backfield in front of Metcalf. Long count by Kozar. Metcalf gets the call, trying to cut back, but Tony Woods was right there to make the stop. A reminder to our viewers, we'll be selecting the Budweiser Most Valuable Player for today's game at the conclusion of the contest.
You've got to keep constant pressure on a guy. Like, you don't want to give him the opportunity to cut back. That's why a defense everybody has to stay in their lanes. As you start to rush and come down Metcalf, the worst thing you can do is come out of your lane, because he will find the spot that you just left.
Metcalf, taken 13th in the draft, has been the outstanding rookie running back to this point. 2nd down and 8 at the Seattle 46. Mike Oliphant now in the backfield as Kozar with a jump pass, and that is close to the 1st down. The tight end Ozzie Newsome stopped by free safety Eugene Robinson. Incidentally, Mike Oliphant, who just checked in, another local Seattle product out of Puget Sound.
That's right, out of Puget Sound, from Federal Way out here. But Ozzie Newsome, the Wizard of Oz. Boy, when he came into this league, I thought he was one of the best tight ends that have ever played. He could get deep, run short, he can block, and he has not lost much in all those years he's been playing. He's not sure if he's going to quit this year or play another year.
It is marked as a 3rd down and 1 as Newsom peels off. Metcalf for the 1st down and some additional yardage. Eugene Robinson with the hit as Metcalf picked up a 4. Getting back to the Wizard of Oz earlier this season, he was telling us that, yes, this is definitely his finale. It's not the games, he said, and you can certainly relate to this, but it's all the preparation during the week and getting ready during the offseason. But now suddenly he's thinking about next year. And Bud Carson said, you know, there's no reason why he can't play at least another year.
That's true. You know, he hurt his ankle a couple of weeks ago, and he hasn't practiced much in the last couple of weeks. And he said, you know what happened? I got fresh legs. So maybe if he can change his practice habits, he can stay around for another 5 years.
In other words, stop practicing.
Right.
Ninth play of the drive, and it goes incomplete. Pass intended for Reggie Langhorne. Bernie Kosar, coming into today over his last 3 games, had completed 77% of his passes. There's the stat. 7 touchdowns, 3 games, only 2 interceptions, turning it from that horrendous 15 for 41 against Pittsburgh 4 weeks ago. Probably his worst performance as a pro.
Good to get rid of that one early, but he makes great decisions. He always gets the ball to the right guy. I never forget what Paul Warfield once told me. He said he's the most accurate long-range passer that he's ever seen.
Kosar now 2nd down and 10. And down he goes for the 2nd time. Roy Hart, first-year pro from South Carolina, collecting the Seahawks' 2nd sack of the day. Earlier, it was Rufus Porter picking one up.
When your frontline players go down, somebody's got to step up and be counted. And Roy Hart still scrambling. He's blocked good. Still scrambling. Finally gets a shot at Kosar's feet and pulls him down. A lot of times, like Mike Dichter used to say, it's not the name, it's the player.
3rd down and 14 when we resume. First quarter has come to a...
I was talking to Tom Flores before the game, and I said, Tom, can Roy Hart play? He said, we will soon find out. And I think we found out so far today that this man said, all right, hey, I know that the guy in front of me is hurt, but I got to come in and make my presence felt. Just like Rufus Porter, who was always around the quarterback, and Roy Hart, number 63, comes in and makes the play.
And a punting situation. David Hollis back for the BRYAN Wagner punt. And they'll spot it inside the 10. A 44-yard punt. 7-0. Seattle on top, and they will have the ball when we resume.
Scores Plus. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Scores Plus. Scores plus a whole lot more.
Well, following that 44-yard punt by BRYAN Wagner of Cleveland, it will be Seattle ball from their 9-yard line. The Seahawk defense coming up big. 3 sacks of Bernie Kosar. Seattle with a 7-0 lead. Dave Craig at quarterback. Kurt Warner, John L. Williams are the running backs. And this is Warner, stopped by the free safety, Thane Gash. And a check of the scoreboard. Kansas City without Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare, sitting it out with a thigh bruise. And they lost to Denver by the score of 16-13. Well, we'll run down the earlier games later on. The later games, the Rams over the Giants now in the first quarter, 10-0. San Francisco with a 7-0 lead, and Dallas 3-0 over Phoenix. 2nd down 8 from the 11. And Warner is stopped by Clay Matthews. Very quick to get into that Seattle backfield.
In order for Seattle has that rollout, sort of a play pass kind of running attack, and you got to be able to get the guy in front of you out of the way in order for the back to make the right move. But Clay Matthews, just a surprise blitz there. Coming off from the left side, he comes down unblocked and makes the tackle.
It was a blitz-crazy game for Kansas City against Seattle last week, with great success by the Chiefs, and the Browns under Bud Carson, a very good blitzing club.
The toughest thing in this business is anytime you show the inability to stop a blitz, you will get it every single game until you stop it.
3rd down and 13. Gray gets it away quickly, and is able to complete the Paul Scancy feint gash on the stop. But it will be a punting situation for the Seahawks.
Bubba Baker, number 60.
Well, first a penalty. No. Okay, Cleveland called on the penalty.
I got a feeling it might have went against Bubba Baker because he was all over David Craig after he threw the ball. Bud Carson wanting an explanation from Mr. Johnson.
We have a completed pass, personal foul, dead ball foul, number 60, defense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, a costly one on Al Bubba Baker, and provides Seattle with the first down rather than a punt formation situation.
Bubba Baker coming in from the left side. We don't get a chance to see him, but just after Craig let this ball go, Bubba Baker was all over him. Bubba Baker is one of the catalysts on this defensive team. He likes to yell and scream and get everybody fired up, and that helps, especially if you got a defensive lineman doing that. When I was in Minnesota, we had a kicker that used to do that. Didn't help at all.
Kurt Warner out to the 34-yard line, picked up 5. Baker on the tackle. Who was that kicker, by the way?
Greg Coleman. Bubba Baker said last week he gave a speech to the team to get him fired up, and he gets so long-winded that they had to give him a 2-minute warning that the time for the speech to be up. But Bubba said that I had to tell these guys that sometimes we play great against the good teams, and then against bad teams we let down. So I had to tell all these younger guys, we got to play hard every single week. He is a leader.
Yeah, Bud Carson telling us Bubba not a man of a few words. But he said the speech was a good one, and it was instrumental in firing up the younger players. John L. Williams is stopped by Andrew Stewart, a backup defensive end, a rookie from the University of Cincinnati. There he is, number 96, a 4th-round draft pick of the Browns.
Marv, the funny thing is that Bud told us that he made Bubba Baker give him the speech first, and then he okayed it, and then Bubba went in and gave probably a different one to the team.
Bud looking for editing privileges. 3rd down and 5 at the 34. Seattle with a 7-0 lead. 3 minutes gone by, second quarter. Sideline pass. Williams short of the first down. Matthews and Wright combined on the stop. John L. Williams, the Seahawks' second leading receiver, and coming in as 42 catches, tied for 3rd in the AFC.
You see Johnny L just swing out underneath, catches a little swing pass here, and here comes Felix Wright with a nice ankle high tackle, and Matthews, number 57, also in on the tackle. John L. Williams got great hands coming out of the backfield. Anytime you can get him one-on-one with a linebacker, he usually ends up winning. He's got 42 receptions now, the number 1 back in the NFL in receptions.
And Ruben Rodriguez with the punt gets the hang time. And the fair catch called for by Gerald McNeil. It's a 43-yard punt. Patrick Hunter on the coverage. Will be back. Developments on NFL Live earlier. The word that Boomer Esiason will return. Will start tomorrow night against the Oilers. Says he feels fine. Ralph Wiley, one of the insiders, pointing out 98% sure that Major Harris will come out early, turn pro in 1990. And Bobby Beathard said the Miami Dolphins are for sale. And coming up at halftime, Bob Costas, OJ, and a conversation with Boomer Esiason. Eric Metcalf on the carry, stopped by the inside linebacker Darren Como. 8 yards for Metcalf. There is Como last week against Kansas City, 12 tackles, equaling a career high. It'll be a 2nd down and 2 at the 28. 10.5 remaining in this first half, and the Seahawks with a 7-0 lead. That last Seahawk possession went for 6 minutes 45 seconds, but they came up empty. But they've had control here in the first half. Metcalf with the cut. Broke a tackle, but not able to find any room.
Metcalf puts pressure on all 11 men on the defense every time he touches the ball. They have no idea where he's going to go. And he's such an intelligent runner. You notice he never takes that big hit. Here he goes. He's going to run this ball off guard. Nope, I think I'll take it off tackle. Nope, maybe around the end. Nope, back up to the tackle. Well, next time. And changed his mind quite a few times.
And off that run, it's a 3rd down and 1 at the 29. Browns go double tight end. Ron Middleton, Derek Tennell have come on. And here's Metcalf, and he has the 1st down and holds onto the ball. Took a big hit, went for 4, stopped by Eugene Robinson. People are constantly comparing Eric and his dad, Terry. Now, the one difference, although Eric would never say it, is that Terry used to cough it up a little bit, and Eric is not shown to be a fumbler to this point.
Very sure. And now watch this hit to Marv. See, it appeared that he took a tough hit, but he's always off the ground. And anytime you can have your feet off the ground, the blow is not as severe. When you got both feet on the ground, that's when you get knocked out.
Eric showing respect for his dad.
And rightly so. I grew up with his father. His father was a great football player, as is Eric.
Mike Oliphant now in the backfield with a handoff to Manoah. Two of you played a little schoolyard football here in the Seattle area.
We were a legend on those schoolyard football teams.
A legend.
That's right. Terry and I were like the only.
We were.
Terry and I are the only guys that would get picked on. We'd play pickup football every Saturday, and we were the only guys in junior high school that got a chance to play with the big boys. Of course, we were the center, and we had to snap the ball. Yes. But we were on the field.
It is a 2nd and 8 at the 35 as Metcalf now flanks to the left side. Manoah is the lone setback. 8 minutes left in this 1st half. And Langhorne in motion. A reverse for Metcalf. And there's a case where he made a bit more out of something that should have been stopped.
Everyone in the state of Washington knew this was a reverse, and nobody could stop him. As he took the ball from Manoah, there was nobody else, nothing but blue shirts. Watch him take the handoff here from Manoah. Now, in front of him now are nothing but blue shirts. He stops and brings the ball all the way back for a positive gain. One more look here. Manoah taking the ball running left, hands it off to Metcalf going right. Metcalf sees there's no more room to the right and breaks it back to the left. He never takes that real big shot, which will keep him around for a while.
3rd and 4. And Kozar able to unleash and a leaping catch. Now we'll have to see what the judgment is. Was it a catch and a fumble? Will it be ruled incomplete? Webster Slaughter took the hit.
We got an official, a side judge, right on top of the play, Lewis Richard, who's saying it was not a catch. This, to me, was a great catch, a great hit, and it was a fumble. This is a great catch here by Webster Slaughter. Watch him catch it in both hands. He's got the ball. He has the ball, and it's knocked out. That was a great catch.
But it is ruled incomplete. Paul Moyer on the recovery, and apparently they will review it. The Browns were very quick to get to the line.
They certainly were.
Yeah, they wanted to run the play.
After further review,
Webster Slaughter.
play stands. 4th down.
Great catch here by Webb as he brings it down. Then he just gets nailed and loses the ball, and they've reviewed it, and obviously they see something that I don't see.
And the ruling is the play stands.
It takes a lot of guts to go up for that ball like that. He knew he was going to get hit from behind, and he knew he was going to get hit from the front, too. You can see all the people around you. Those fellas there very uncomfortable with that camera being in their face at this point.
Royal Cathcart is the replay official.
Now, this is a great play. Watch these hands. Good hands. He's got it all the way. Still got it. Now the ball is knocked out. Well, that's not a fumble.
And now the officials conferring again. The announcement was made by Howard Rowe that the play stands. Now the question is, are they still discussing the play? Here's another look at it.
One more look. I like looking. I could look at this many, many times. Webster, nice grab. Nice hit, though. My gosh.
It
Eugene
appeared
Robinson just knocked it out.
he did have possession, that it was a catch. But if it was ruled a catch, it would have been a fumble recovered by Moyer.
After further review,
Another review.
play stands.
They reviewed the review.
The review was reviewed, and they came up with the same answer.
And so, Chuck Knox not happy about it. And Brian Wagner will punt from his 25. David Hollis is back. And a nice punt. Hollis had a back pedal. And a penalty marker is down. A 52-yard punt by Wagner and a 10-yard return. But let's check out the flag. Robert Lyons on the tackle. Again against the Browns.
An eligible receiver. David Hollis was rocked, though, once he got tackled.
Kicking team. Member ineligible downfield. 5-yard penalty. Re-kick. 4th down.
This puts a lot of pressure on the Cleveland Browns when you have to kick it again and go all out, come running. And a lot of times guys get tired. That's when you get a little bit of a breakdown. And what happens when you get a big play on a punt return, it only takes one guy to lose his lane, come out of his lane a little bit.
And that call the 5th time that a penalty has been handed out to the Browns. Seattle yet to receive one. And that has hurt. It's a 7-0. Seattle lead. Touchdown pass from Craig to Blades for an 8-yard reception.
I'm sure Brian Wagner enjoys this opportunity to kick the ball a little bit farther.
Well, he does have a 52-yarder erased.
Well,
but gets off another nice one.
He just put the foot into that one.
Here's Hollis. And down he goes at the 25. Well, not bad. 49 yards this time. And a 9-yard return. Stopping last night, one of the new owners in the National Football League, Ken Behring, who is the owner of the Seattle Seahawks, made the purchase last August. It is a first down from the 27. And Kurt Warner, with a good second effort, picking up 4, gets out to the 31. Middle linebacker Mike Johnson made the stop. Johnson leads the Browns with 78 tackles. Man has led the team in tackles the last couple of seasons. A run through the scores, and Bob and OJ will have the complete recap at halftime. Denver wins on a last-second field goal by Treadwell. Buffalo bouncing back. Miami knocks off the Jets. The Jets finally winning one last week to stop a 5-game losing streak. New Orleans, Washington, and Chicago come up with W's. The problems of the Steelers continue. Minnesota a victor along with Detroit. 2nd down and 6 at 31. And Warner getting a lot of work. This time is stopped by Mike Johnson and Kurt, as has been the case the last couple of seasons. Here's it from the crowd. Look at the late games. The Rams leading the Giants 10-0. Giants decided to stay out in the Arizona area following the game last week with Phoenix. So should they lose here to the Rams, who have had their problems recently, people will say, they should have come home to New York and gone back out to the coast.
That's right. It always works that way, Marv.
Browns came in early, came in on Friday. Normally they will arrive the day before a game.
It's a long trip. That's one of the worst things, a schedule in an NFL player's year, when you got to go from one coast to the other and then play the next day.
Beautiful catch by Brian Blades for a first down. 11-yard reception. Felix Wright, number 22, made the stop on Blades, who comes up hobbling.
Just a little break inside. He beats Minifield here, makes a tough catch. Minifield is always going to be somewhere near, and Felix Wright makes a stop. I talked to all these guys, Felix Wright, Frank Minifield, Hanford Dixon, about Brian Blades, and they had a lot of respect for this young man out of Miami. They say he runs great routes, and he's always able to snatch the ball and put it away. Minifield said a lot of times I can knock the ball away from a receiver, but this guy, Blades, snatches it and puts it right to his body.
It is a first down at the 41-yard line. Craig swinging it, penalty marker down. John L. Williams took the first down. Tripped up by Wright and Mike Johnson. It's a 16-yard play if it stands.
Edwin Bailey is pleading to the referee, and that's usually a sign that he was holding. The trick is to try to get out of the way.
Offense, number 65, holding, 10-yard penalty, first down.
So it is Edwin Bailey who is still pleading his case. The left guard is called for the hold.
But let me tell you something. He's holding Michael Dean Perry, who has 3 sacks. He has 33 quarterback pressures, and he has 11 holding penalties that's been called trying to keep this guy away from the quarterback. He's that quick, and he puts the pressure on you right away that you got to hold him or tell your quarterback to look out, one or the other.
Michael Dean, the younger brother of Refrigerator Perry, in a second season out of Clemson. It's a 1st and 20 back at the 31. 4:07 left. First half, a 7-0 Seattle lead. And Craig on a timing pattern for Largent. Incomplete. And for Dixon on the coverage. Both Dixon and Minifield have been playing hurt. Both nicked up. Both have had groin problems, although still playing well. Not at the point they were, well, the last year or so when they were both all-pros.
They both said this is the first week that they've been healthy. No groin pulls, nothing. They're back to the way they were before. So you guys been hobbling a little bit. Yeah, well, you know, you get old, you get those little kind of injuries, but this is the first time that they've had a week where they hadn't had to have ice or electrical treatment, all kind of stuff like that. This has been a pain-free week for them.
I tried the electrical treatment myself prior to the game. It didn't work.
It's usually for personality disorders.
Yeah, that captures it. As Craig goes incomplete. David Craig is now 5 for 8, 40 yards. Last Sunday, Seattle lost Kansas City 20-10. Seahawks were held to only 129 yards, and Craig had a very long day. Only 14 for 32, sacked 5 times at one point, 8 straight incompletions.
They would have had a tough time last week beating the boys club. 129 yards, 8 fumbles.
Blaze, we're told, injured his left ankle. They taped it up, and he's back in action. 3rd down and 20. And it's Scansey, short of the first down, out of the 39. Tackled by Matthews and Harper. Harper, a backup corner. And the Seahawks will go into punt formation. Gerald McNeil checking in for Cleveland. He will drop back to his 20. And Ruben Rodriguez will punt.
There is Gerald Ice Cube McNeil, 147 pounds. I don't believe he weighs that much. I think he's more like about 130. I said, how do you like it out here? He said, man, it's so fast, it's like a track meet out here.
Averaging just under 11 yards per return. That is second in the AFC behind Clarence Verdun. That was almost blocked. And McNeil just puts it down. A 36-yard punt. That's a most unusual fair catch by the Ice Cube. We'll be right back. In presenting a 2-hour all-star musical, Polly, starring, by golly, Felicia Rashad, and then an NBC World Premiere movie, Manhunt: The Search for the Night Stalker. They will be seen in their entirety following the game, except on the West Coast. Ahmad, I know you spent a lot of time working on lines to get Felicia ready.
That's right. You know, whatever it takes to get them ready to work.
They look like they're really enjoying the game. Cleveland first down from the 25. Seahawks with a 7-0 lead. The screen for Manoa. And he has the first down. David Wyman made the hit, a 12-yard reception for the fullback, Tim Manoa.
You have to be aware of Eric Metcalf. You have to find out where he is in every play. Kozar, just with a little look, takes everybody that direction, goes back to Manoa, and Manoa is a man who likes contact. He looks for people to run over. He's one of them kind of moves where it's left, right, and then run over you. He's not looking to fake anybody out.
And Manoa has a first down at the 37-yard line. 3 minutes remaining in this first half. 86, Brennan in motion. And it's dropped. Covered up by Manoa just in case they call it a completed pass. Tim Manoa, the starting fullback, but a fellow by the name of Kevin Mack waiting in the wings. He is back working his way into shape following his prison sentence on drug charges. Under the conditions of his probation, Mack must undergo frequent and random drug testing, also recovering from knee surgery, and the Browns hope that he'll be ready for the final 3 games. And then the playoffs. There was a difference of opinion as to whether Mack should be allowed to return to the Cleveland Browns.
The opinion of the guys on the team that they welcomed him back in the locker room when he came in. It was just great to see him back.
Kosar able to find Metcalf, and he is held short of the first down by the strong safety Nesby Glasgow. 7-yard reception.
You were talking about Chuck Knox saying he was preparing to play against Terry Metcalf. We were talking to Nesby Glasgow yesterday. He said, you know, the strangest thing is I prepared against this guy once before a long time ago. It was his dad. He's played against dad and son.
And one other player has been in the league, at least a player here in Seattle, with both Eric and Terry. That is Carl Big Daddy Hairston, the 36-year-old defensive lineman for the Browns. Manoa going to cut his way to the 45-yard line and stopped by Eugene Robinson from the free safety position. And that is short of the first down. So the Browns have been stifled here in the first half by a Seattle club that has dropped 2 of its last 3, that comes off a horror show last week against Kansas City. 2 minutes to go in this first half.
Liberty Mutual Insurance presents Legends of the Game. He threw the best long bombs of his day, passing for nearly 20,000 yards in just 12 seasons. He averaged 15 yards per completion and threw for 164 TDs. Twice the AFL's most valuable player. Who was this legend? 25 straight games, and so loved the long ball he was called the Mad Bomber, a legend of the game.
Nightmare at the slaughterhouse. Then the Raiders, the Oilers, and the House of Pain. A frightening...
Not an inch is coming up for Cleveland. They will go for it. We were discussing earlier that the Cleveland Browns' main concern, at least from the coaching staff, was overconfidence coming into a game against Seattle. Nothing to be confident about the way things have gone in the first half.
Not at all. Seattle, we talked about Chuck Knox being able to get his team ready to play. And boy, their backs against the wall, and they have been playing Cleveland to a standstill so far today.
7-0 for Seattle. Browns go on 4th and inches. Kosar trying to draw the Seahawks offside. And not able to. And they'll take the delay of game. Now they'll punt.
Good try. You have nothing to lose by that. It's like the old play in basketball where there's 2 minutes left to go and the crowd starts going 10, 9. The guy takes the shot.
And now Brian Wagner will check in. Well, the Seahawks doing it in this first half with Jethro Franklin off the developmental squad, starting a right defensive end. Alonzo Mitz in there. They've had different alignments in a 4-3 with both Jacob Green and Jeff Bryant out of action today because of injuries. David Hollis back behind his 20, almost blocked. We've had some close calls, and Hollis to the 20. And down he goes. 47-yard punt and a 9-yard return, and Wagner is shaken up.
I don't think Wagner is play acting because he took a shot. But he's up. This is an all-out punt plot. Rufus Porter coming straight down the middle, catches Wagner's leg on the way by, and spins him all the way over to the ground.
Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness on the kicker. 15 yards. First down.
One more look. Rufus Porter comes right over the middle of the center. He, you know, when you get that close, you got to get the ball. He is right there before the ball goes, and Wagner doing an excellent job of moving a little bit to his right and kicking the ball past Porter. That was a good heads-up play by Wagner. Most punters panic. So the guy gets close, they panic, just kick the ball any kind of way. Wagner keeping his head about him and moving a little bit to the right and still getting off a punt and picking up a penalty.
Wagner has good size. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. Good all-around athlete. He is the disaster quarterback for the Browns, who have the first down at the 44 in Seattle territory. Kosar gets it away. Again, a big rush A completion for Brian Brennan, but shy of the first down. Eugene Robinson on the cover-up. That went for 8. It will be a 2nd down and 2.
Brian Brennan, an excellent 3rd down receiver. They talk about his speed, but he has excellent ability coming out of cuts.
And here's Manoa. And he has the first down. Hard driving move by Tim Manoa, stopped by Nesby Glasgow.
It looked to me like Nesby Glasgow got the worst of that one.
Minute 20 left in this first half. Timeout taken. We'll be right back. Coach Ray Perkins said our offense scored 52 points, 31 for us, 21 for them. Ray dripping with a sardonic touch.
The thing is about, we're talking about Cleveland trying to find a personality. In order to be considered a team that really has a shot at winning the championship, and Bud Carson knows this, you got to win the games you're supposed to win and win a few of them that you're not supposed to win. And today they should beat the Seahawks, but you know the Seahawks are not laying down and dying. They're saying if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to do it by putting points up on the board.
Kozar completes, but short of the first down, connecting with Reggie Langhorne. James Jefferson on the stop, 8 yards on the play. It will be a 2nd and 2 at the Seattle 22. Clock is running. 1 minute left in the half. Kozar going for the end zone. And overthrows off the good coverage. Lawyer Tillman blanketed by Dwayne Harper.
Lawyer Tillman, 6'5". A lot of times they like to get him down there in that end zone area and just throw the ball up and hope that he can sky and take the ball away from the defender.
And he has 6 inches on the defender, Harper. He goes 5'11". Lawyer Tillman with a terrific leaping catch for his first NFL touchdown last week against the Buccaneers.
Lionel Taylor said that's what he does best. He's one of these guys that when you're out in the middle of the field, he goes to the ball as well as anybody and catches it out in front of him with his hands.
Ice Cube, Gerald McNeil is flanked to the right for this 3rd down 2. Manoa, who has run well, has the first down and more. And that sets up a 1st and goal. He went for 16.
Manoa, I'm telling you, got to watch out for Langhorne, Slaughter, and everybody, and Manoa steps in and shows out.
Timeout called. Back in a moment. That 7-0 lead with 46 seconds remaining in this first half. Cleveland with 1 timeout left. Well, 3 Cleveland penalties helped Seattle on their early touchdown drive. Now Seattle certainly helped by that roughing penalty. Could be a key for the Browns.
Tom Captain, Seahawks defensive coordinator. I guess this is the place where he earns his money. They get down in this red area, they like to call it.
1st and goal from the 6. Manoa tripped up, able to recover, and surges for the touchdown. A pretty piece of running by Tim Manoa.
Metcalf's running is infectious. It's everybody wants to keep on running. I think they're going to throw the ball at him again, or unless Lawyer Tillman.
Well, apparently he was short of the goal line. Now Manoa is in. So now Tim Manoa able to drive across.
This Cleveland offense, I like to watch them play because they put so much pressure on everybody. You got to look out for Eric Metcalf, Webster Slaughter, Reggie Langhorne, and you can't cover everybody. They've got an excellent offense, and they've got an excellent person running that offense in Bernie Kosar. They are hit on all cylinders. Boy, it's tough to stop everybody.
And now Matt Barr able to put the extra point through, and the game is tied at 7. So a late drive by the Browns, and they've tied it with 23 seconds left in this first half.
Just root hog football, fire out in front of you and let the back find a crack and dive in there, and that's exactly what Manoa did to get into the end zone. Complements the offense so well, this Manoa. And when they get Kevin Mack back, once he gets back into shape, they're going to have a heck of a 1-2 punch there at that fullback position. Because Mack also an excellent receiver coming out of the backfield. Runs the ball extremely well, and we have some.
That's a message from Seattle fans. A dog bone has been cracked.
A broken dog bone here at the Kingdome here.
11 plays, 75 yards. Tim Manoa taking it in. Tim, born in Tonga, moved to Pittsburgh as a youngster. His family now lives in Hawaii. In his 3rd year in the NFL out of Penn State.
He left Pittsburgh for Hawaii?
I will not comment.
Little difference in weather.
And now the kickoff from BRYAN WAGNER. 23 seconds left in the half. Harris and Hollis are the deep men, but it's picked up by one of the up men. Travis McNeil, the backup tight end, getting out near the 45, a 17-yard return with 17 seconds to go in the half. Ron Middleton on the stop.
Seattle with an opportunity here to get some points. 17 seconds. Got the ball at midfield.
So Dave Craig from his 45-yard line. Warner and Williams are the running backs. Craig able to complete to Lewis Clark. Short pickup. Mark Harper right there. And a timeout called by Seattle with 11 seconds left in the half. Reminder, next Sunday, join NBC Sports for a football twin bill getting underway 12:30 Eastern Time with NFL Live. Most of you will see the Chiefs travel to the Dog Pound, taking on the Cleveland Browns, and later many of you will see the Seahawks go against the Giants at the New Jersey Meadowlands. Others will watch Bo Jackson and the Raiders face the Houston Oilers inside the House of Pain. We suggest you check your local listings for the games and times in your area. Seattle Seahawks with a vicious schedule coming up, starting with the Giants next week. And the only life signs for Seattle, why today is so pivotal for them, would be a wild card berth in an AFC race that features 8 clubs going into today at either 4-5 or 5-4. Denver not only has a sizable lead on the Seahawks, but already they're well in front in several of the tiebreakers. So it will be very difficult for Seattle. Craig completes to Williams, and he runs it out to stop the clock with 5 seconds left in the half.
You know, Marv, you mentioned Bo Jackson and the Raiders a little bit earlier, and I was talking to some of the guys in the Cleveland team in the locker room, and they say it is not fair for a guy to be able to miss training camp, not play the first 7 weeks, come in here with fresh legs, and be able to run all over everybody in the middle of the season. I think they're all trying to get out of training camp.
I don't think there are too many guys, though, who could come in with that type of impact. He is a very special athlete.
Certainly, he is not just playing both sports. He is a superstar at both sports.
All right, here's Craig in the final seconds, throwing the prayer, firing it, looking for a deflection, but it's broken up. So the Hail Mary attempted by Craig, Felix Wright, and Tony Blaylock of the Browns each got a piece of it. And at the end of the half, the Seahawks and the Browns are tied at 7. We'll be back here in Seattle a little bit later on. Coming up, Bob Costas, O.J. Simpson with the NFL Live halftime.
On hard copy.
A little respite from Marv Albert and Ahmad Rashad of the Kingdom. Bob Costas back along with O.J. Simpson. Juice, your impressions of the first half?
Well, you know, Ahmad Rashad and Marv Albert, they've been talking about the fine job that Chuck Knox has done in getting the Seahawks up for this game. But against the Browns, this is not unusual for Chuck Knox. He's 7-1 against them lifetime. In the 4 games that he's coached against them since he's been at Seattle, he's 4-0. He's beaten them 64-10 the last 2 times the Browns have come into Seattle. So this is not unusual. Now the score is 7-7 now. Chuck Knox is going without his 2 starting defensive ends, Jacob Greens and Jeff Bryan. So I think he's got to be pretty happy with the effort that his team has put out thus far.
All right, O.J., quickly through the scoreboard at the Kingdom, as you know, tied up 7-7 at the half. Now the Rams looking to stop stopped their 4-game losing streak. They won their first 5, since then have dropped 4 in a row, are leading the 8-1 Giants 17-3 just before halftime in Anaheim. Moments ago, Jim Everett threw a 51-yard touchdown pass to Aaron Cox. Now, there's less than a minute to play in the half, but the Giants have just fumbled on the kickoff. The Rams recovered. And now on the very first play from scrimmage, following the recovery at about the 20-yard line, they scored again. I can't make out exactly how they got the touchdown, but they've upped the lead to 23-3, pending the extra point on another Jim Everett touchdown pass. Flipper Anderson made the catch, and now they're lining up for the point after. Mike Lansford, who earlier had drilled a 44-yard field goal, is about to try the extra point. There's a bit of a delay, so they're up 23-3 with just a few seconds remaining before halftime, and the Giants might lose their second of the year. San Francisco at Candlestick, looking to go to 9-1 and leading Atlanta 21-3. The Atlanta points on a 25-yard field goal by their quarterback, Chris Miller, who's their backup kicker. Paul McFadden pulled a muscle warming up on the sidelines before the game. He can't go. Miller kicked the field goal. Joe Montana has a 1-yard touchdown run and a 39-yard touchdown pass to Jerry Rice. For Rice, his 12th TD of the year, one behind the Saints' Dalton Hilliard for the league lead. Phoenix just got a Tim McDonald interception of a Troy Aikman pass. He brought it back 53 yards for a touchdown. That offsets a pair of Luis Zendejas field goals, and with the extra point, Phoenix at 4-5 takes the lead on the 1-8 Cowboys, 7-6, not yet to halftime. Now, these are finals from earlier today. Denver is 8-2, Kansas City 4-6. The Chiefs played without the league's leading rusher, Christian Okoye, sidelined with a deep thigh bruise, and Denver wins it 16-13. Tied at 13, about a minute to play, 3rd and 9 at the 39. A little shovel pass to the all-purpose guy, Steve Sewell. He's constantly coming up with big plays for the Broncos. That set them up for this field goal attempt by David Treadwell, and he hits it from 26 yards out with a second to play in the game. Denver beats Kansas City at Arrowhead 16-13. Buffalo comes up big at home. They take their record to 7-3, winning today at Rich Stadium over Indianapolis 30-7. Jim Kelly with 3 touchdown passes. Thurman Thomas with 128 yards rushing. Andre Reed, the AFC's leading receiver, caught 2 of the TD strikes from Kelly. This one covered 32 yards. Nice stutter step move for the touchdown. Just before halftime, Buffalo rolls 30-7. Miami was down 20-3 against the Jets, but then Dan Marino got hot. He threw for 3 touchdowns after being intercepted twice and fumbling once in the first half. The second half belonged to Marino. Here's a big one out of the shotgun pass to Scott Schwades. He sidesteps a potential tackler, then splits the defense, goes 65 yards. Mark Clayton also caught a 76-yarder from Marino. The Dolphins come back. Their record is now 6-4. The Jets are 2 up and 8 down, 31-23 the final at the Meadowlands. New Orleans wins against New England, holding off a late Patriot rally in Foxborough 28-24. The Saints, after a slow start, are now even at 5-5. Washington's 5-5. Philadelphia, with a costly loss, drops to 6-4. The Redskins upset the Eagles at the Vet 10-3. Chicago wins in Pittsburgh. The Bears had dropped 4 of their last 5, but they're now 6-4 on the year. 6 Pittsburgh turnovers helped them out. Bubby Brister was intercepted 3 times. The Steelers are 4-6, and half of their 6 defeats have been shutouts. Today, 20-0. 2 more field goals for Kevin Butler of the Bears. He's hit 22 in succession. The league record is 23 by the Redskins' Mark Mosley a few years ago. Minnesota now 7-3. They win at Tampa Bay 24-10, even though the Bucs held Herschel Walker in check, 18 carries for 48 yards and a 1-yard touchdown. And Detroit with one of the season's biggest upsets. They send the Packers to 5-5 and win for just the 2nd time this year. Rodney Peete threw for 2 touchdowns, and the Lions win it 31-22 at the Silverdome in Pontiac. Now, when we come back, a preview of tomorrow night's important AFC Central game at the Astrodome between the Oilers and the Bengals. Cincinnati quarterback Boomer Esiason visits with us following these messages from your local station.
A great Thanksgiving tradition. The Skins game returns to NBC, where one putt could be worth $450,000. Jack Nicklaus, Curtis Strange, Ray Floyd, and Lee Trevino play the Skins game. Thanksgiving weekend on NBC.
McDonald's double cheeseburger at just $109. It's going to take great taste into double overtime.
Open up your mouth, 'cause it's coming at you.
At just $109, I said just $109. It's going to take your taste buds and show them a good time.
Open up your mouth, 'cause it's coming at you.
McDonald's 109 deals deliciously immense. It's on right now like it's in the present tense.
McDonald's $1.09 double cheeseburger deal.
Open up your mouth, 'cause it's coming at you.
On our next current affair, Frank Sinatra's tragedy.
We continue now at halftime here on NBC. During the pregame show, we were joined briefly by Boomer Esiason from his home in Cincinnati. We have a bit longer period here and a chance to continue that conversation with Boomer. Tomorrow night, you go to Houston to take on the Oilers, obviously a very important game in the AFC Central. A lot is made about the House of Pain. Is that all myth, or is it really more difficult to play there than most other stops around the league?
Well, it's extremely difficult for us to play there. Their fans seem to be more into the game when we come down there. Their players, I don't think, have a very good feeling for our team as we do for them. And I think the noise factor plays a big part in our no-huddle offense when we try to go into that. And the thing that we have to do is we have to try to play methodical football and not allow them to have any momentum.
A lot of people in the past few years have questioned the Oilers' tactics. Some have said they've gone beyond aggressive to dirty. What do you think?
Well, yeah, sometimes they tend to tip the scales the other way, but I think that that is Jerry Glanville's type of coaching. Let their players play 100% all the time. They come at you from all angles. The thing that we have to deal with on their defense is that they have great team speed. Their linebackers are all over the field, and they're very physical, and they try to intimidate you. But the one thing that we all know that is this is the NFL, and they're no bigger or faster than we are, and we have a pretty good team ourselves.
How about your own condition? A bruised lung last Sunday in Los Angeles against the Raiders, a gruesome-sounding injury. How do you feel right now, and can you go tomorrow night?
Well, Bob, I feel really good, as a matter of fact. I feel like I'm almost 100%. And the injury itself, when you say the word lung, it sounds worse than it really is. But I was assured by the doctors this week in Cincinnati that I would be able to play. One of the reasons I didn't play last week in the second half against the Raiders was because the doctors had told me that you know, it would be in my interest not to play because they weren't really sure how serious the lung injury was. It was bleeding. There was a blood vessel that they feel might have broken a little bit, but the fact of the matter is later on in the week I started to feel better, and I feel real good right now.
A moment ago, we had a clip of you practicing a few days ago with some sort of contraption, perhaps an extended shoulder pad apparatus. Can you explain that to us?
Well, it seems like this year I've tried every new little possible gimmick that I can get into to protect myself. But there is a company, oddly enough, out of Houston. They're called Power Shoulder Pads, and they're actually a part of the Rydell family, the type of helmets that we wear. It is an actual one bodysuit piece that goes from the shoulders all the way down to the back, the small of your back. And this will protect both my ribs from the side, the back, and the front, and also will give me extra padding where I got hit last week in Los Angeles, right underneath the shoulder blade and right where there was a muscle protecting the lung.
As we take a look at the standings now in the AFC Central, obviously tightly bunched, are you surprised by the way things have gone so far?
Well, here in Cincinnati, there's no question we've been frustrated. The last 4 games, we've only had one game that we've played to our potential. You know, we've been decimated by injuries that probably some of the other teams in the AFC Central haven't had to deal with. But we're hanging in there and we're hanging tough. We know that Houston and Cleveland have good football teams. There's no question about that. And we know that it's going to come all the way down to the last game of the season as to who's going to win this AFC Central. And we must not forget the Pittsburgh Steelers, who just, I think, are just going to win one, lose one, win one, lose one. They'll probably end up around 9-7, 8-8, and they'll have a shot because right now in the AFC, not only the Central, but there is no one dominant team. And I think that there's a long way to go at 7 weeks, and there's going to be some surprises at the end of the year.
You lose Ickey Woods. Eddie Brown holds out at the beginning of the year, then has a little bit of trouble getting on track, and now the offensive line is banged up. Those are some of the injuries you were talking about.
Well, our offense has just been killed, but I can tell you that, you know, not one of our guys has quit at all. And the one thing about it is that they're out there trying to play hurt, and that means more to me as a teammate than sometimes the numbers or the statistics that they might acquire. My offensive line especially has just been playing with bum knees, bum shoulders, and they have a lot of class in my eyes in that they're out there trying not only to protect me, but to get our offense rolling. And, you know, James Brooks has got some cartilage problems in his ribs. Eric Ball has a hip pointer. You know, Eddie Brown has a deep thigh bruise, much like Christian Okoye. So, I mean, we're all out there hurt, but that's a part of the game, and it's something that we all accept, and we're going to keep going. We're not throwing in the towel by any stretch of the imagination.
One last quick question. Who's the beautiful woman in the picture frame behind your right shoulder?
Well, that's my mother, and unfortunately for me, my mother passed away when I was 5 years old, but that's a constant reminder that she's always with me, Bob.
Boomer, thanks very much, and good luck tomorrow night at the Astrodome against the Oilers. We'll continue with more on the Halftime Show as NFL Live rolls on right after this.
Halftime at the Kingdome in Seattle. The Browns and the Seahawks are tied at 7. Marv Albert with Ahmad Rashad. I just realized I could probably go to the boards better against you than against Trumpy.
No, you couldn't, Marv. See, because I put my hand here and have layups all day.
Yes, I noticed the old wide receiver tactics. Nothing dazzling to report on in the first half, although the Seahawks certainly have to be pleased that they're in this ball game.
They certainly do. Chuck Knox said that he had to go out on the street and find players. He should probably remember where that street is to find some more players, because the guys he's got playing are playing very, very well.
And he's made some adjustments defensively to make up for the losses due to injuries to Jacob Green, Jeff Bryant, the two defensive ends who are sidelined today. A look at the two scores in the first half. Seattle getting on the board in the first quarter on this play, with Craig combining with Blades.
Brian Blades lining up at tailback and just rolling out on the right-hand side. You see Craig using very good footwork to get away from the defense, and watch Brian Blades. He shows he's got some footwork also, just getting in the corner there for the score.
And the Browns came on late in the second quarter, a drive that was spearheaded by fullback Tim Manoa.
Tim Manoa showing that if you put too much pressure trying to find out where Metcalf and company is, you give him the ball, he will get results, and these results are what he got. He scored from 1 yard out.
And a look at the Core's halftime statistics, and as we said, not much to report in terms of a great differential, even time of possession pretty close.
But important thing, Marv, 7-7 tie. The Seahawks are in this football game. We've said so many times before the first half that once Seattle has its back against the wall, they usually come out fighting.
Eric Metcalf on the return has some room. So Metcalf facing one of the better special teams units in the NFL, although the Seahawks have not been as effective in that department as they have been in previous years. And Metcalf went 31 yards on the return, stopped by Dwayne Harper.
Eric Metcalf, an electrifying runner. No matter how you get the ball to him, he puts the constant threat of going all the way every single time he touches the ball. He's worth the price of admission. You come in to watch this guy play, he is going to excite you.
Second of the NFL in kickoff returns, and it sets up the Browns first down from their 33. Kosar on first down, and it's broken up. Ozzie Newsome could not hold on. He was covered by the strong safety Nesby Glasgow.
That particular play, they split out Eric Metcalf, and Glasgow was the one that went out there with him. He let him go right by, and then came in to make the tackle underneath. Kosar now looking over on that left side of the field. He's got Metcalf. He's also got a shot to try to get the ball into Ozzie Newsome. It's just a little bit low. Ozzie not able to make the grab, but Nesby Glasgow right on top of the play.
Now Webster Slaughter is split to the left side. Second down and 10 from the 33. Metcalf on the slant, breaks free out to midfield. Tripped up by Eugene Robinson. So Eric Metcalf reeling off 17 yards.
I think I just got finished saying he is one of the most electrifying runners in the National Football. Here, a little false step, and watch him accelerate through the hole. All he needs is a little bit of a crack, and he has that ability that in one step he can be going full speed. Watch him just get through the line. Now he starts to speed up. Then he leaves his feet, and he said, he likes to run scared.
Keith Jones has come on to give Metcalf a breather, and the pass is to Jones for 8 more. So the Browns moving the ball well on this opening drive of the second half. Keith Jones, first-year player from Nebraska, signed as an unprotected free agent, originally a sixth-round draft pick of the LA Rams. As Metcalf checking back in, so Eric actually resting on the sideline. We were talking yesterday with the Browns offensive coordinator, Mark Trestman, who told us his major concern regarding Metcalf has been Metcalf's stamina, which has been terrific. And Metcalf is back in the lineup. So it is Metcalf and Manoa as the setback. Second down and 3. Metcalf off the block from Manoa, but nowhere to go. Did not make the turn. Darren Como, inside linebacker, number 53. There he is, staying right with it.
An excellent job by the Seattle defense in not overrunning the play. Watch Metcalf try to stretch the defense and then cut back on the inside. But you see, Seattle's defense, they're making sure that they all stay in their lanes. Como not taking the fake, And what they do is they keep Metcalf from cutting back. Metcalf with $11 million limit. I think that refers to Brian Bosworth.
Como, the man who moved in last season when Bosworth was injured. And Como played well. Third down and 5. Big rush. Kershaw has it broken up. Intended for Webster Slaughter, but James Jefferson able to break it up. But also upset, he wanted to pick it off.
Vernon Kozar here under a lot of pressure. Joe Nash coming in from the right side. Just gets the ball away to Webster Slaughter. The ball's a little bit behind him, and Jefferson, number 26, almost had a chance to make that interception. That's why he's upset over there, because he figured if he had caught that ball, he'd have went the distance the other way.
And here is Brian Wagner with the Chicago Bears last year, ranked second in the NFC, averaging 41.5, and he's done a good job with the Browns. And punting to David Hollis. Hollis takes it on the run and able to accelerate across the 25, 34-yard punt and a 16-yard return by Hollis, who was stopped by Derek Tennell, one of the backup tight ends. We'll be right back.
Wouldn't it be great if suddenly you were in charge of the annual swimsuit issue, deciding things like how the models pose and who gets the cover? And wouldn't it be great if the models brought beer? Really great beer, like Keystone, the fresh, cold filtered beer in a can that tastes like beer in a bottle because of Keystone's specially lined can. And wouldn't it be great if later that day you all went bowling? Introducing Keystone and Keystone Light, bottled beer taste in a can. Wouldn't that be great?
Presenting the 1990 Mitsubishi Mighty Max. This new Mighty Max gives you more power and more standard equipment than any other pickup in its class. You'll have to be awfully loyal to your old truck not to get into the new Mitsubishi Mighty Max. Factory dealer incentives could save you up to $1,000.
United Airlines, from the ground up, rededicated to giving you the service you deserve. Come fly the friendly skies.
Hit the road, Jack, and if you don't like them, we'll buy them back.
Road Handler Treadlocks. Test them for 1,000 miles. If you don't agree they're the toughest tires you've owned, Sears will buy them back.
Hit the road, Jack.
Road Handler Treadlocks at Sears. Tough tires you can trust.
What you say?
NBC Sports coverage of the National Football League is brought to you by new Keystone and Keystone Light. Bottled beer taste in a can. Wouldn't that be great? By Eveready. 100 years of meeting your power and safety needs. And by Mitsubishi, bringing you a full line of award-winning automobiles. See them all at your Mitsubishi Motors dealer.
Well, Ahmad, in this area, as one who grew up as a youngster, I know your mother used to tell you, go play in the falls.
That was a beautiful look at the beautiful Snoqualmie Falls. Our producer, Terry, he worked telling me how to say it, and I grew up here, Terry.
Off the first down, John L. Williams stopped at the line. Taking shots at the folks in the truck who cannot answer back. A very wise move.
Well, Terry is from my mother's hometown down in Mississippi, and I just want him to know that I know about that Snoqualmie Falls.
Well, the Seattle running game once again has not gotten the job done, and Chuck Knox has tried to establish it right from the start with John L. Williams and Kurt Warner. A total of 31 yards on the ground for Seattle. 2nd and 9 at the 27. 3 minutes gone by. Third quarter. Game tied at 7. Craig able to connect. Largent making the second catch of the day, and he stopped short of the first down by Mike Johnson and Van Waiters.
These people don't like it when people tackle Steve Largent very hard, but this is professional football, and it is a collision sport, and if you catch a ball over the middle, you're going to get treated just like this.
Isn't he allowed to be tackled?
Even if you're a 35-year-old future Hall of Famer.
Seattle's offense is predicated on being able to run the ball because they like to pass so much off the play-action fake. If they can't run, there's no reason to fake a run because you can't run anyway. So they've got to run the ball in order for the passing game to be.
Third down, 3, and a first down off the reception by Brian Blades. 11-yard pass play. Hanford Dixon, the right corner, making the stop on Blades in his second season out of the University of Miami. He came up hobbling in the first half, but able to return to the action and is okay.
Brian Blades, just a great catch. Reaches in, a nice throw by David Craig. Puts it right in his chest. Very hard to miss those. Blades runs those great routes and has those excellent hands. And as I told you earlier, the entire Cleveland defense, they respect Brian Blades.
Get the ball! So the first down for Seattle. Handoff with a nice hole this time for John L. Williams, but again, only a short gain. Clay Matthews, Carl Hairston on the stop. Well, the Giants are getting clobbered by the LA Rams, who are trying to stop a 4-game losing streak.
In any other sport, that could be a week, but in football, that's a month. You lose 4 games in a row, that's 1 month of losing.
Rams coming off that tough loss in overtime last week to the Minnesota Vikings. Mike Merriweather still trying to figure out whether he got 2 or 6.
I think he's been reading a rule book all week.
2nd and 7 at the 47. And Craig going up top. And it is picked off. Felix Wright with the interception. The pass intended for Brian Blades on a post pattern. So Felix Wright with his 5th interception of the season. He had 1 for a touchdown last week in Tampa Bay. That is only the first turnover of the game. We'll be right back.
Like the all-pro he is, he's supposed to force the receiver inside. The receiver thinks he's wide open, but look who shows up. Felix Wright playing center field. His job is to not let anybody catch anything in the middle of the field. And he makes a great play with that interception.
Cleveland leading the AFC with a +12 in takeaway giveaways. First turnover of the day. And the Browns from their 13, hearing it from the crowd. Metcalf peels off. Kozar able to throw long. The defender fell down, but he was off the mark, and a penalty marker has been tossed. Webster Slaughter, the intended receiver. Patrick Hunter started with him step for step.
Webster Slaughter appeared to be wide open. It was a late flag. Has to be pass interference.
And it's on Patrick Hunter.
Illegal contact, defense, number 27, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Webster Slaughter with a beautiful stop-and-go route. He just totally fooled Patrick Hunter. And Patrick Hunter doing what all smart cornerbacks do. Instead of letting him catch the ball for a touchdown, he just pushes him because he was certainly beat. The thing that Webster Slaughter has going for him, he averages 20 yards a catch. You have got to respect his deep threat ability at all times.
And Slaughter comes to the left for this first down out the 18 on the 5-yard penalty. Kozar looking right, then goes the middle, and it's dropped. Nearly intercepted on a deflection as it went through the hands of Reggie Langhorne. Tony Woods had a shot at it.
Bernie Kozar just put heat on that ball, trying to throw it through Tony Woods. Bounced off Tony Woods, and Langhorne had a chance to get the ball, but just couldn't react. Kozar just letting loose that ball right by Tony Woods. That's a catchable ball. Got to catch those.
At this point, Bernie Kozar, who has had a splendid season, not burning it up. 8 for 17, 69 yards. 2nd and 10 from the 18. Metcalf now lines up behind Manoa. And off the play action, Kozar could not find anyone, and he is sacked for the 4th time today. Alonzo Mitz. Well, wait a moment. Perhaps a delay of game, a penalty marker thrown. And here's Howard Rowe to explain. Yes. Delay of game against the Browns.
Bernie Kosar trying to change the play, change the formation, change the snap count.
Delay of game, offense, 5-yard penalty, second down.
They say this Kingdom has the best 12th man, meaning that they get loud here. And Brian Brennan right here. This is Brian trying to figure out what the play is. He can't hear anything. Bernie trying to change things. And the 12th man here playing an important role here.
Well, the noise rule was called on several occasions during preseason, but they have certainly been reluctant to call it. We could have a situation here very shortly. This time Kosar wasting no time and able to swing it to Barry Redden.
I think, Marv, that the only way they should be able to call that noise rule is if they lower the price of admission. Because if you pay that much money for a ticket, you ought to be able to come in here and yell as loud as you want to.
And I'm sure the NFL owners will go right along with that.
What do you mean, change the noise rule or the
No,
price
lowering
of
the
admission?
price. 7-yard advance for Barry Redden. Yeah, there is something wrong about legislating against fans cheering for the home club, although in this case they are trying to interfere with the play on the field.
Well, isn't fans short for fanatic? That's what those people are.
It's a 3rd down and 8 at the 20. And Kosar again having trouble and now pleads his case to the referee. And we may have another delay of game right here. We do. The procedure is that the referee can step in and say either play or yes, you're right. And there can be a warning which will lead to the home team losing timeouts and eventually can be penalized.
Howard Rowe took no time in making that decision. When Bernie turned to look at him, he just pointed, stand with the ball.
And now the officials will talk it over. Howard Rowe is a rookie referee. He has been in the NFL for 6 years as a back judge.
We had a delay before timeout, 5-yard penalty, offense.
So Kosar was attempting to call for a timeout. I think for Howard Rowe, things are a bit more quiet on the insurance side, which is what he does in real life.
To his credit, though, he's not wasting any time. He's not indecisive about anything. He is not intimidated by quoting the rule book here in this game. He's telling Bernie, hey, get underneath the ball, try to get the play off.
Well, this is similar to what happened in baseball several years back when Commissioner Bart Giamatti tried to legislate the balk rule, and it got to the point that the balks were being called left and right. Then they decided to change the rule. Same with the noise infraction. They have discouraged the call of penalties against the home team. So Kosar now able to get it off and completes for the first down to Reggie Langhorne, a 15-yard pickup.
Marvin, all my years of playing, I have never had a problem with crowd noise. I've never been able to go into a meeting and say, you know what, I messed up because I didn't hear.
You think perhaps crowds now have a higher decibel level? You played in domes, of course, but I think there are more dome stadiums these days, and I think that is what has added to it.
I think if it starts to worry you, it's something that, you know, I don't think it really bothers a team.
It just took a jarring hit from the nose tackle, Joe Nash.
You think about those Big Ten schools where teams would go in there to play, they got 80, 90,000 people in there. It never bothers them. It's just something that will make you worry, you know, when you're preparing to play a game against a team like Seattle here in the Dome.
2nd down 7 at the 32. Backup tight end Ron Middleton now has come on. He's a 4-year man out of Auburn, primarily a blocking tight end. Slaughter lines up to the left side. 7.5 to go in this 3rd quarter. Browns and Seahawks tied at 7. The swing handled by Manoa. Did a nice job and runs for the first down and some more. Eugene Robinson finally collared him out of bounds. A 13-yard advance and a good play by Manoa, who made sure that he had the grips on the ball.
Eric Metcalf has rubbed off on everybody. Tim Manoa, a little swing pass out of the backfield. Make sure that he has the ball. Now watch, here's a move. Here's another move coming up. Nice, Tim. Then takes off down the sideline. You see, he tries to punish people just before he's run out of bounds. Having a big day here today, Tim Manoa.
Third catch for 32 yards. He's also run for 38 on 7 carries. Draw play for Manoa, and the penalty marker is down. Well, coming into today, we were talking about the all-around game of Eric Metcalf coming off a 233-yard all-purpose day, but Manoa pulling one out of the pages of Metcalf the way he has gone.
Offense, number 68, holding, 10-yard penalty, first down.
The left guard, Ted Banker, is called for the penalty. The Browns have Greg Riccozzi at center, Banker and Fike at the guards, and Risen and Farron at the tackles. Farron playing for the injured Ricky Bolden, who's out with a shoulder problem. May be back, though, within 2 weeks.
Excellent chance for Tim Manoa. It gets boring when all you do is block. I think he's very excited. He's a part of this game plan today.
First down and 20. Kozar with the time, and a beautifully tossed pass for Reggie Langhorne. A 27-yard reception, and the Browns, taking advantage of that interception of Dave Craig, have moved downfield. They moved within the Seattle 40-yard line.
And Reggie Langhorne dropped the ball a little bit earlier. Bernie Kosar comes right back to him. The last couple catches he's made have been great catches. As a receiver, when you drop a ball, the best thing that can happen to you is you get a chance right away to catch another one. And Langhorne showing that, you know, give me another shot, I'll catch it.
First down at the Seattle 38. Brennan to the right, Slaughter left. Handoff for Metcalf, picking his way to the 35. So that will set a 2nd and 7. Metcalf, 14 carries, 61 yards. Swing around the 10-minute ticker. Rams maintaining the lead on the Giants, trying to stop a 4-game losing streak. San Francisco big over Atlanta. Atlanta coming off a victory against Buffalo. And Dallas seeking win number 2. They lead the Phoenix Cardinals. Here, the Browns and Seahawks tied at 7. Marv Albert with Ahmad Rashad. 5:50 to go in the 3rd quarter. 2nd and 7. Cleveland at the Seattle 35. Kosar overthrows Langhorne.
Ernie had quite a bit of time that time to try to find a receiver. Not many people open. At the last moment, he tries to fire to Langhorne. See Bernie setting up. Langhorne running a crossing pattern, trying to take Harper and run him all the way across the field, and Bernie just a little bit high on the delivery. Langhorne not able to come up with the catch.
Bernie Kosar, usually a mistake-free quarterback, deadly on the short possession routes, has an amazing quick release.
Jack Johnson, number 54, that line judge over there, was my little league coach. Really?
Third down 7 at the 35. Kosar eluding the rush and completes. Ball was jarred free but out of bounds. That a completed pass for another first down. McNeil on a 16-yard pickup.
Bernie Kosar using his players very well. You see the ice cube now putting pressure on Harper deep. As soon as he turns, McNeil breaks to the outside. The ball's right there. Nice catch. You have to always play McNeil, Webster, Slaughter to go deep. Once they run a route about 15 yards, the defensive back has to turn. At that point, they're breaking it off.
First catch of the day for McNeil. And a first down at the 20. Metcalf handled well by the Seahawks, picked up a couple. It's a long drive being pulled off by the Browns, and began with the interception by Felix Wright for his 5th interception of the season. He is among the AFC leaders, and Bud Carson's club now with the 11th play of the drive coming up. Gerald McNeil is back in, right to the near side, and Webster Slaughter at the top of your screen. 2nd and 8. at the 18. 89 is McNeil. And it's a fake reverse and did not do much as Metcalf held on. David Wyman not fooled along with Jethro Franklin.
Anytime that you get a wide receiver going back the other way and Metcalf coming on a sweep, you got to play Metcalf, and that's exactly what the Seattle Seahawks did. They figure they got a chance if he hands the ball off to the wide receiver to stop him on the other side. But most importantly, the man they need to stop is Eric Metcalf.
Told that free safety Eugene Robinson has a hip injury, but should be able to return. 3rd down, 7 at the Seattle 17. Kozar throwing. Touchdown. Lawyer Tillman using his 6'5" on Patrick Hunter, who goes 5'11". They've tried that a couple of times, and Tillman, who caught his first NFL touchdown last week, comes up with number 2, the rookie from Auburn, a 2nd-round draft pick. He was a holdout, still learning the system, though, able to use his extension for a 17-yard touchdown pass play.
Just a flat-out go pattern. He gives a couple of stutter steps at the line of scrimmage and then takes off down the field. And the most important part of a route like that is the quarterback throwing the ball to a point that you can jump for it. Right. Matt Barr nails that straight through. But it was a great pass by Kozar, giving Tillman a chance to go up and take the ball away. 5. He's going to come out here and Patrick Hunter, give him a little move and take off up the field. And Bernie Kozar is just going to throw it up there. So Tillman, when he turns back, makes the play on the ball, out jumps the defender and makes a touchdown. Just an excellent throw and an excellent catch by Lawyer Tillman.
12 plays, 87 yards. Kozar converting 3 third-down plays on that drive, a drive set up by the interception by Felix Wright. Deep kickoff. David Hollis from his end zone. Hollis springing to the 18-yard line. I believe someone called in a line. We're getting writers now calling in that touchdown from Kozar to Tillman, labeled Bernie to the attorney.
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
Get out of here.
Boy.
Moving right along, this telecast presented by authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Seattle Seahawks and the National Football League is prohibited. All rights reserved. Craig on 1st down gets it to John L. Williams. And Williams picks up the 1st down. Hanford Dixon making the tackle. Williams going for 12. A 14-7 Cleveland lead with 3 minutes left in the 3rd quarter.
David Craig here just with a fake to John L. Williams, who holds up and then takes off up underneath the defense. Makes a nice catch here. Nice tackle there by number 29, Hanford Dixon. Now watch Craig as he lets this ball go. Michael Dean Perry is always around. You know, the thing is, when he first came in the league, everybody said, yeah, that's the Fridge's little brother. That is gone. Michael Dean Perry is a legitimate player in this league.
Now the 1st down at the 30. Warner on the pitch, cannot make the turn, strung out, and a loss on the play.
Bad sign, Marv, when you take a pitch and all the people you see in front of you have on a different colored jersey. Hanford Dixon. Great contained job. Michael Dean Perry was running it down from the other side.
And Warner now showing only 19 yards off 11 carries. He lost 4 on that last carries. He tried to make the turn, and Seattle with only 27 yards rushing thus far. 2nd down, 14. Back at the 26. 2:20 remaining in the 3rd. And Craig for a diving Largent. It is short of the 1st down. Minifield on the stop. Picked up 12.
Steve Largent, the master at running pass routes. They call him Yoda. because he was such a master at running routes, and he just picked up his 800th career reception, something that receivers only dream about.
Just adding to his NFL record. The crowd at the Kingdome responding. He's also caught at least one pass in 171 straight games. That record continuing. 3rd down and 2 at the 38. Craig for Larkin and a first down. Make it 8:01.
8:01. Nice reception. A little 4-yard gain, but a reception nonetheless. You know, I played a major part in Steve Largent's career here. Actually, I was traded the day that he came on this team. I think they knew something. That was 800 catches ago about.
That is the Steele trade. Largent coming from Houston, and you were headed to
Minnesota.
Right, where you were. Put up some very nice numbers that should be added.
Got a chance to go to a Super Bowl.
So you were actually only in camp with the Seahawks. You'd come from Buffalo.
From Buffalo. I played the preseason here. And when I saw Steve, I packed.
There's a problem with the snap. So that's the first time we've seen it today. There was a problem on a handoff last week. That among the many problems that the Seahawks had against Kansas City last week. Craig with 2 fumbled center exchanges, 2 fumbles on sacks, 2 on running plays. For 6 of the 8 fumbles, 4 lost for the Seahawks.
And that worries Chuck Knox so much. It's just, I mean, my old coach Jerry Burns used to, anytime that ever happened, he would just say, you 2 guys, center and quarterback, go off in a room somewhere and work it out. I mean, there's nothing you can really say to them. They just have to not let that happen. There's no excuse for it.
Final seconds of the 3rd quarter. The tight end Donnie D in motion. Craig stepping up, and it's deflected. Incomplete. As time runs out in the 3rd, and the Seahawks hearing the boos from the crowd. After 3, Cleveland Browns 14, Seattle Seahawks 7. Back with the 4th quarter in a moment. Here at the Kingdome in Seattle. As we check the scores, Greg Bell has run for his 2nd touchdown of the game. Rams now over the Giants 31-3. Montana has thrown 4 touchdowns for San Francisco. Troy Aikman just completing a touchdown pass, Dallas leading Phoenix. 3rd down and 13 at the 39 for Dave Craig and the Seahawks. They trail the Browns 14-7 off the big rush. The pass intended for Scansey, covered by free safety Thane Gash. And so Seattle again will have to give it up on downs.
Ball a little bit low. Scansey usually reliable in a situation like that. Wanted running game, passing game, offense, period. You know, last week they had that triple threat offense, that trip, stumble, and fumble. They've been playing a little bit better than that this week, but still, they just can't get that running game going. Brown Chuck looks more like a dinner salad here.
It has not gone. They've averaged 1.3 per rush. Ruben Rodriguez on the deep punt. McNeil decided to let it go, and it gets the Seattle hop down inside the 10. 52-yard punt. We'll be back after these messages. Down in week 10 of this NFL season, Cleveland Browns with a record of 6-3, leading the AFC Central, lead the Seahawks here as we are early 4th quarter, a 14-7 Cleveland lead, and the Browns first down from their 10-yard line. Kosar thought he had Metcalf on a swing, that goes the other way for Manoa, breaking tackles. Metcalf has turned his head after Kosar was looking in that direction.
That's a set play, Mark. A set play. What they want to do, they want to fake it over there to try to freeze the linebacker and then throw it to the other back going down the other side.
Seahawks on the ground, only 27 yards. Last week against Kansas City, they were held in check, only 39 yards rushing.
Very hard to win at this level with those kind of numbers, unless you have 500 yards passing, which they don't.
True. 2nd down 7 from the 13. Now Metcalf following Manoa. Penalty marker has been thrown. It is a short pickup for Eric Metcalf.
And it is definitely a holding penalty.
And called on the Browns. They have been hard hit by penalties.
Well, they don't have Bill the Beer Man here who used to lead these people in cheers, but they do have Herman over here who likes to do that.
Offense, number 74, second down.
That is the left tackle, Paul Farron, called for the hold. Herman uses your personal seats, I'm told.
He does. That's Bellevue Herman. Likes to come in across the lake and cheer these people on.
Keith Jones checking in to the Cleveland backfield.
I like when I was talking to Eric Metcalf about his running style. I said, how would you describe it? He said, I run scared because, you know, fright is an exhilarating feeling. And I can understand that because I think you do your best. I ran my best 40 time once with a German Shepherd close behind me. I'm sure it was down around 4 flat. I didn't have the top, but I didn't get quit either.
It is a 3rd down and 4 at the 16. Reggie Langhorne is split wide to the right. And Kozar completes to Brennan for the 1st down. James Jefferson on the stop picked up 7. We were chatting yesterday at the Browns practice with Brian Brennan, and he was very happy to report that he would be a major part of the game plan. That not the case last week.
On 3rd down, he said, I'm the man. And, you know, it's not all about just flat open speed. What Brian Brennan does best is he bursts out of his cut. Right here, when he comes back for the ball, that's where he gets the separation, enable him to make the cut. He doesn't have to slow down to come out of a cut. Steve Largent does the same thing.
Brian Brennan out of Boston College, a favorite target of Doug Flutie at BC. 1st down at the 24, Metcalf in motion. And the fullback, Manoa, with a straight-ahead move. Stopped by Alonzo Mitz, man starting at left defensive end for the injured Jacob Green, out with a bruised knee. Green and Jeff Bryant both sidelined by injury today.
Tim Manoa just pounding up in the middle. When you got a back like Metcalf, and you got Webster Slaughter, and you got all these perimeter people, what it does is puts all the pressure on the sides of the defense. Then you have a guy like Manoa just pounding that ball up the middle. Cleveland always having that big offensive line. They like to just fire straight out and block.
2nd and 6. Cleveland from their 28. Play action, and Kozar goes sideline, and it's incomplete. Webster Slaughter trying to come back for it, covered by Dwayne Harper.
You won't see Webster Slaughter drop many balls. There he had a nice pattern going, tried to come back with the ball, but just couldn't hold on to it. Apologizes to Bernie as he goes by.
San Francisco extending to 38-3 against Atlanta. 11:50 to go in the 4th. Cleveland 14 and Seattle 7. Kozar to Blades in the 1st quarter. 8-yard touchdown pass. Late 2nd, Manoa took it in from 1. I should say Craig to Blades in the 1st quarter. Then late in the 3rd, Kozar to Tillman on a 17-yard pass play with a 14-7 advantage. 3rd down 6. Kozar in trouble. And down to go. Rufus Porter will receive credit for his 2nd sack of the afternoon. If he gets the full sack, make it 10 on the season.
Rufus Porter, once he lines out way outside of those big offensive tackles, with his speed and quickness, he really has a chance to get in and get on the quarterback. And what we've seen by watching Rufus Porter, he never stops. He goes 100 miles an hour until the whistle blows. This is a very intense football player.
So David Hollis is back at his 40. And the punt by Wagner. And again, he just did get it away. Hollis run out, reaching toward the 45. A 47-yard punt and a 12-yard return. Local product Mike Oliphant getting credit for the special team stop. We'll be right back.
If you thought...
It has been a very physical day for the Cleveland Browns punter BRYAN WAGNER. A little shove at the end of that last punt. Earlier he took a hit which led to a roughing penalty.
That's right. I used to always give punters a bad time by saying they should wear sweatsuits, but there shows that they should have those uniforms on. If they do, they should get hit.
Well, WAGNER does point out, as we mentioned earlier, that he is not just a normal punter. He also kicks off. He also is the disaster quarterback, which means if things really go badly, he is the third option.
He is also extremely sore after that hit he just took a minute ago.
Backup quarterback to Kosar is Mike Pagel, and then in emergency the punter BRYAN WAGNER. First down at the 44. Seattle back to the offense, trailing the Browns 14-7. Here's Williams off the swing, and he is collared up at the 45, so a short pickup. Well, coming up tonight on NBC, the magical world of Disney, presenting a 2-hour all-star musical world premiere movie. The Cosby Show's Felicia Rashad, who is on hand, taking in all the action, starring Felicia keeping stats over the course of this ball game.
She's handing me notes from time to time, none of which have anything to do with the game.
That is all tonight here on NBC. 2nd and 9 at the 45. Craig with a deep drop, and that goes sideline intended for Largent, and a flag is thrown. Pass interference on the Browns.
You cannot touch that receiver once he's gone 5 yards, and I have a feeling that Frank Minifield, as cagey as he is, got a hand on Steve Largent. Minifield, one of the best in the business.
Illegal use of hands, number 31, defense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
There's Minifield playing that man-to-man. Largent with a nice move off the line of scrimmage. Now he's trying to head him up, tries to go back inside. Minifield just grabs his jersey. And Largent just a master at running pass patterns. And you got to be a master in order to get open on a guy like Frank Minifield, who watches so much footage that he feels like he knows the guy personally by the time he plays against him on Sunday.
Seahawks now first down, midfield. Pitch out for Warner. Again trying to make the turn, and this time he does. Run out by Minifield, so Kurt Warner going for 9. It'll be a 2nd down and 1 at the 41. There is Warner. Last year ran for 1,025 yards, among the leaders in the AFC, his 4th 1,000-yard season. But in recent years, as you can see, he's dropped off. He is in his 6th season in the NFL. He's coming off severe knee surgery. Amazing that he's back playing.
That's exactly right. Complete reconstructive knee surgery. Most players would have not played another down.
2nd and 1. And Warner is stopped short of the first down. Michael Dean Perry right there, and Kurt Warner now hears it from the crowd.
I don't know if those boos are for Kurt Warner or for the offensive line. There must be a place to run. And the only person that I've ever seen run without an offensive line was Jim Brown. Wagner got a little owie there on his knee.
Took the shot, as you saw, on that last punt. He's all right.
Punters take a lot of pride. It's a badge of courage when they get some tape and something on them. They come out of the locker room limping afterwards.
It is a 3rd down and 1. Williams starting for the first down. Good punt by John L. Eddie Johnson on the hit, and the Seahawks pick up the first down. See Chris Pike trying to get to John L. Williams. Pike, number 75, goes 6'8", 290 pounds.
John L. Williams just finding a crack and turning that ball up and running low and hard to pick up that first down. 7 rushes, 11 yards. They would like to carry the ball more, both John L. and Kurt Warner, because the more a running back carries the ball, the more he sets up the defense. You get a chance to break that big one, but you need 12, 15 carries to get that rhythm.
And a first down at the 38. Craig able to get away and complete a flag has been thrown. And we'll have to see what the call is.
Al Bubba Baker is still down on the field. A holding call on the Seahawks. I think Baker's just resting because
Offense, number 70, holding, 10-yard penalty, first down.
That is Ron Mattis, the left tackle who started last week, then was pulled when he was beaten for a sack by the Kansas City outstanding rookie linebacker Derek Thomas, and rookie from Notre Dame Andy Heck getting the start today. Mattis back in there now with Bailey, Feasel, Millard, and Wilson.
Mattis also going both ways. They were making a chance to see him once they get in the goal line situation. He's playing defensive tackle.
We saw him working out defensively yesterday. Of course, the Seahawks short-handed. And Craig is sacked for the first time today. Michael Dean Perry getting credit for his 4th of the season.
You can hold those guys out for a while, but sooner or later, guys like Michael Dean Perry, excellent reverse move there. I mean, watch Michael Dean Perry, number 92. Watch this little spin move. Takes him the outside and then spins all the way around right into the quarterback. It's almost like watching dancing bears. I mean, you don't think a guy with this much weight has that much agility, but boy, it's frightening out there to see these guys run.
280 pounds, he's 6 feet. Craig has now been sacked 27 times. In 10 games, only Ken O'Brien and Bubby Brister have been sacked more often. Oh, it was intercepted off a beautiful grab by Clay Matthews. What a catch by Matthews, directing traffic. He was looking to lateral. Beautiful run for 25 yards. Largent made the tackle.
Largent made the tackle that kept him from going all the way for a touchdown. Great catch by Clay Matthews, who loves to play this game.
Looked like he had stickum.
He really did. He just put that paw up there and brought it down. He said, Craig trying to find Largent. Nice catch there by Matthews. Now watch the run. All defensive players want to lateral the ball at some time. That's a heads-up play. Now he's looking for somebody. Now he's pointing, trying to get somebody to block. He wants to lateral, and Largent makes a great stop.
His first interception of the season, and the Browns will take over at the Seattle 30.
By Liberty Mutual. For your insurance and financial service needs, America believes in Liberty Mutual. And by Extra Gold Draft, the party time beer with a full tilt taste.
Well, the Browns starting out from the Seattle 30 following the interception by Clay Matthews, and Tim Manoa reels off 8 more. Darren Como on the stop, and there is the Pro Bowl man, Clay Matthews, who picked off his first interception of the season.
And one of the few players that when they had a coaching change, you question things, but coaches have to prove themselves just like players. And once that Bud Carson had proved that, I mean, he's proved himself all along. Everybody knows he's a great defensive-minded coach, but Clay Matthews said that he had some question at the beginning, but now he is really enjoying playing in Bud Carson's system.
Particularly, he was telling us after the final preseason game against Tampa Bay, Matthews and other Cleveland veterans were wondering, does this coaching staff have the goods? 2nd down and 2, and a first down is picked up by Tim Manoa. Carson and some of the new members of the coaching staff actually had to prove themselves to the veteran players.
That's always the case, and anytime you have a coaching change, I mean, you have to come in and establish the fact. I mean, veterans just don't, you can't throw your reputation out there and the veteran go, oh yeah, fine. But I think they're finding out that Bud Carson has coached a lot of great players, and every player I've ever talked to say, I love playing for Bud Carson, and that's what these Cleveland Browns are starting to say too.
What the players like about Carson, and I think that would be same thing would be said of the media in Cleveland and wherever Carson has coached, is that he is so candid. He does not cover up, gives you frank opinions. Here's Metcalf with a change of direction. Stopped by the nose tackle, Joe Nash. Been a very strong combination of Metcalf and Manoa. Manoa's run 10 times, 53 yards. Metcalf, 17 carries for 69 yards.
And Metcalf gets out to the flank so quickly that you have got to just fly out to keep him from turning the corner. And once you do that, he breaks it back up inside. Just an excellent eye. Excellent eye. He always makes the right cut.
It is a 2nd down 6. Cleveland with a good drive coming off the interception out of the Seattle 15. They lead Seattle by the score of 14-7. Langhorne in motion. Manoa with a nice hole. And he is put down by Jethro Franklin, man who opened today as a starter and right defensive end. Injured player Paul Moyer, backup safety man. Franklin from the developmental squad to a starting role, replacing Jeff BRYAN, who's out with the bruised ribs. Moyer is shaken up, and they're checking him out. So we'll take a break. Back after these messages.
Paul Moyer down on the play. It appeared that Tim Manoa in his run off the left tackle here, he just gets started, and watch Paul Moyer, number 21 in the blue, come up. Just as he sticks his head in there, he takes a shot right on the side of the head by Manoa's knee, and he's still down on the field.
Earlier, Eugene Robinson, the starting free safety, injured his hip, but he was able to return. Now Moyer, the backup at the position, is down. There's Robinson, a 5-year man out of Colgate, had a good one last week. Season high 11 tackles against the Kansas City Chiefs. But one of the problems with the Seahawks defensively, as we touched on earlier, the fact that Robinson has so many tackles, as does the strong safety Nesby Glasgow, who leads the club in tackles. Well, a look at our lineup next week. It'll be an NBC football doubleheader starting at 12:30 Eastern time with NFL Live with Bob and OJ, and most of you will see Kansas City travel to Cleveland to take on Bernie Kosar and the Cleveland Browns. Later on, many of you will see the Seattle Seahawks go against the Giants at the New Jersey Meadowlands. Others will watch Bo Jackson and the Raiders face the Houston Oilers. Plus regional action. We suggest you check the local listings for the games and times in your area. Paul Moyer still shaken up. Another look as
once
he
again
took that shot.
Yeah, Manoa just pounding inside, and Moyer just getting caught right in the side of the head, but he is now sitting up on the field. That is always a good sign once the guy starts to moving around. I think he just got dinged a little bit. And when he's walking off the field, a very, very good sign. He possibly doesn't have any type of a neck injury. I think he just probably got knocked out a little bit. I don't know how you get knocked out a little bit. He's knocked out and now being walked off the field.
I was going to let it go, Ahmad.
Being knocked out a little bit is when someone else is knocked out.
Right.
One more shot. He gets Moyer, number 21, gets a bad angle, gets his head caught up in there, and just takes a knee by Manoa. And he's now leaving the field under his own power. So that's a good sign.
Paul Moyer in his 7th season out of Arizona State. As you see, 4:42 to go in this 4th quarter. 3rd down and 3 when we resume the ball at the Seattle 12. Cleveland on the move. They lead the Seahawks 14-7 and looking to take advantage of the 2nd turnover of the day. Earlier, an interception by Felix Wright led to a Browns touchdown. The interception by Clay Matthews setting up this drive. Metcalf flank to the right side.
Man-to-man coverage on Metcalf.
But back to the ground, and Manoa is stopped short of the 1st down. And so we will have the first field goal attempt of the day. That is Matt Barr looking for his first activity of the Sunday afternoon. 10 for 13 on the season. The last 2 weeks he has not attempted a field goal, so it has been a long time between field goal attempts. Mike Pagel, the backup quarterback, will hold. It is a 29-yard attempt with the angle to the right.
One thing, he's got a fresh leg.
And Barr puts it through. So the fresh leg does convert. And Matt Barr now 11 for 14 for the season. Important points, extending that lead to 17-7.
Cleveland looking for a personality. I think maybe they found one. A lot of times when you're in the hunt and you play a team like Seattle that's towards the bottom of another division, you have a tendency to let down. But when you can come into a place like this and really expand and go out and beat a team like this, it really gives you a lot of impetus onto the next week and on into the playoffs.
And next week, Cleveland Browns home for Kansas City. I will take a complete sweep around the scoreboard. Denver winning on a last-second field goal. Buffalo winning big. Miami over the Jets. New Orleans beating New England. Washington, all the scoring in the first half of that game. Chicago defeating Pittsburgh. Minnesota with the victory. Detroit over Green Bay. Run and shoot offense coming through this afternoon. Giants getting crushed by the Rams. And here Cleveland leading Seattle 17-7 with 3:25 remaining in the fourth quarter.
When I talked to David Craig before the game, I said, you know, the one good thing about it is you guys still have a chance. You got to win every single game. He said, yeah, that's the only good part about it. And, you know, they started off playing like they were going to come out playing better.
This is Elroy Harris on the return across the 21-yard line. Well, that is a long shot, though, for Seattle with that record of 4-5. Game behind the Raiders.
It doesn't get easy for them, though, Mar. When you're 4-5, the teams that you think you can beat, they think they can beat you.
Well, there's not. You know, I don't know if there are any teams there that they really think they can beat. You look at their schedule, it is vicious. Next Sunday, Seattle goes east. They play the Giants at Giants Stadium. Then they play at Denver and return home December 4th for Buffalo. Craig handling the high snap, and it's batted down. It is rejected by Tom Gibson. 6'7" defensive end. Tom Gibson, there he is, out of northern Arizona, getting a piece of it. Carl Hairston is down.
Carl Hairston, Big Daddy, is laid out.
So this becoming a very difficult game physically. Just a moment ago, you saw Paul Moyer hit the deck, taking the knee from Tim Manoa, and now Carl Hairston, who goes 6'2", 275, is flat out.
David Craig trying to throw, but boy, when he hit him right in the chest with the ball.
And you know, Tom Gibson, a man as a senior at Northern Arizona, led the nation in batted passes. That is his specialty.
I didn't know they kept those kind of stats. Batted passes? How many?
It's from Tom's personal file. How many? 97 as a senior. I don't.
More than anybody else.
Yes, right. Gibson was signed as a Plan B, unprotected free agent with New England for 2 years. Sat it out, though, with a groin pull. Also one known to have, Bill, like this, Ahmad, a good club move. Remember Jack Gregory, one-time Cleveland Brown and giant defensive end, using the hand as a club? Well, that is, aside from the batted passes, that is a specialty of Tom Gibson. And as you can see, Hairston appears to be all right.
The club move. Jeez, with his height, he ought to just be able to just stand up.
And
Carl Hairston, one of the leaders on this team. The reason they wanted him around is he knows how to win. He's one of the guys that teaches those young players how to play tough. When things get going and they get a little rough, you got guys like Al Baker and Carl Hairston that keep them on track.
And Cleveland has been on track, record of 6-3. Pittsburgh losing earlier today. Cincinnati and Houston at 5-4. Second down and 10. Back at the 22. 3:10 remaining in this fourth quarter. 17-7. Browns lead the Seahawks. And it is incomplete. Williams not able to hang on as he took the hit from Matthews. And it It will be a 3rd down and 10 at the 22-yard line.
Michael Dean Perry is always around. When you think he isn't, just watch this. He tries to hold Dave from going down to the ground. That's after he hit him. But when you know, I really think the stat that's bigger and better than a stat is when you rush the quarterback, because that's when you cause him to throw an interception.
Pressures.
Pressures.
Same thing in basketball. People talk about blocked shots, but the other, as we watch the interception by Scansey, that is short of the first down. The other important stat is altering shots, specialty of Patrick Ewing, and that can change a game around. Hanford Dixon and Thane Gash on the coverage of Paul Scansey. And a look in the AFC West. Denver with the victory, 8-2. And Seattle appears to be on the way to a 4-6, unless there is an enormous turn with 2 minutes and 35 seconds to go in this 4th quarter. Reporter Paul Moyer suffered a concussion, will not return. And it is Brian Blaze heading down inside the 45. 28-yard play, and the Seahawks come up with a big play. Gash and Wright on the tackle. Timeout is called. 2:25 remaining in this 4th quarter.
Game. Blades 4 receptions, 57 yards, and he scored a touchdown early in the game.
That on an 8-yard toss from Dave Craig for an early 7-0 Seattle lead. 2:25 remaining in this 4th quarter. First down at the Cleveland 45. Craig unleashing. He took a pop. 84 Lewis Clark in the area off that underthrown pass.
Number 96, Andrew Stewart, putting a lot of pressure on Craig, trying to get rid of this ball just as he lets it go. Stewart's right there on top of him.
It will be a 2nd down and 10 at the 45. San Francisco with a 45-3 lead. Rams over the Giants, 31-10. Phoenix making a move back on Dallas. With the snap, but it took the good hop for Craig, and it's incomplete, intended for Blaze. Hanford Dixon on the coverage, and these fellows really have a problem.
They just seem to self-destruct. They cannot get any consistency. This is the most basic thing in football, snapping the ball. I mean, you got to do that to get the play started. Just a tough situation by David Craig, not able to handle the snap.
I don't know if that one was a bit too hard from Grant Fiesel, but he and Fiesel have had a host of problems.
You don't get to use that as an excuse that it's too hard.
3rd down and 10. The catch by Clark. And short of the first down as he ran it out of bounds. Covered by Manyfield. Stops the clock with 2:11 remaining in this 4th quarter.
David Craig here looking for Lewis Clark the entire way. Once he catches this ball, you got to try to get a first down. Turn the ball up the field. The clock's going to stop in 11 seconds anyway.
6 yards short of the first down. I wonder if he lost count of the downs. Running it out now. Seahawks in danger of giving up the ball on downs.
It's a wonder that Chuck Knox has hair. I was going to say that this kind of play makes your hair turn gray, but you could lose your hair.
4th and 6. Margin in motion. Craig avoiding the rush. Craig running for the first down and has it. And a flag is thrown. So Craig went 7 yards for the first down.
Very good scramble by Craig. He was trying to look down the field to find a receiver. That's such a questionable play. If you don't hit the quarterback.
Personal foul, number 29, unnecessary roughness, late hit out of bounds, 15 yards, first down.
Now, here David Craig is. He's trying to find somebody down the field. He can't find anybody. Now he is a running back right now. Now, if Dixon doesn't hit him, he could turn up and keep running down the field. That's such a fine line right there. I really think that it's a tough spot to put a cornerback in. You got to come up and hit the guy. I watched Boomer Esiason earlier this year fake like he was going out of bounds and then take off and run about 8 more yards down the field.
Browns hard hit by penalties this afternoon, as you just saw. First down at the 20 now for Seattle as we come up on 2 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. Craig goes sideline and it's intercepted. And for Dixon on the pass intended for Brian Blades. So Dixon comes up with the Browns' third interception of the day. And for Dixon, his first of the season. We'll be back in a moment.
Central Division title for 5 straight years. But what team has been in the playoffs for 7 years during the 80s? The Los Angeles Rams, the San Francisco 49ers, or the Washington Redskins? Which would you choose?
Let's bring on our next challenger.
I always had AT&T until I went on this game show. I won $300 worth of free phone calls.
If you said the 49ers, you made the right choice.
Hanford Dixon watches more film than anybody that I know, and this is how it pays off. He knows where the ball's going before the receiver does. Hits him right in the chest. A great play. David Craig, after he delivers the ball, realizes that, no, that's not the right place for it to go, and he's just disgusted.
14 interceptions on the season for Craig. Picked off for the third time today. Hanford Dixon in preseason in a controversial move was moved to safety by Bud Carson. And then Carson admitted that Dixon should be back at the right cornerback slot, so he switched him back. Originally, he had Tony Blaylock starting at corner, and Bud Carson admitted that he made a mistake. So the Browns with 1:58 remaining in this fourth quarter. Now we'll just look to kill off the time. First down at 14, and Tim Manoa, who has had an outstanding game, running it across the 22, met by Darren Como.
That's right, Marvin. Tim Manoa, I'd have to say that, you know, with all these big offensive guns they got on this Cleveland team, if we have to pick an MVP, my vote goes for Tim Manoa.
I'd agree. 13 carries, 64 yards. He's caught 4 balls, complimenting Eric Metcalf. Ran style. Clock running down. Minute 25 remaining. 2nd and 2 at the 22-yard line. Now Keith Jones splitting out to the right side. Kosar taking his time. Long count. And again, it's Manoa. And he is short of the first down. Manoa stopped by Como, and a timeout is called. Clock stop with 1:04 remaining fourth quarter.
This offense so well. You get all those guys that put the pressure on the outsides of the defense. Manoa 65 yards, rushing 35 yards, receiving. He picks up 100 yards the hard way. But like they put so much pressure with Metcalf running it outside, and Manoa's a guy that makes you play it honest up the middle, which enables Metcalf to then put pressure on you on the outside. You don't know which way to go. They're gonna get you one way or the other. And if you stop those two guys, then what do you do about Webster Slaughter?
Steve Longin talking it over with Dave Craig as the time runs down. Metcalf picking up the first down. Thanks to our producer, Terry Ewert, our director, Ted Nathanson, our ace statistician, Dennis Minishin, our spotters, Dave Senko, formerly from the Buffalo Bills organization, now handling public relations for the sports department, University of Washington, and Stacy James did a bang-up job here in the booth. Seattle going 1-4 here at the Kingdome as time is running out, and the Seahawks drop to 4-6. They've lost 3 of the last 4. The Browns make it 4 straight wins as they stay atop the AFC Central, extending to 7-3. A methodical victory for the Cleveland Browns over the Seattle Seahawks. They do it by the score of 17-7. Bernie Kosar, David Craig talking things over. We'll be back here in Seattle with a wrap-up right after these messages.